across Liverpool, and the players, some of them were brilliant, but they're not anymore.
Jamie O'Hara told Jason Cundy on Sports Bar, Liverpool should get Stevie G in now.
Could you imagine the atmosphere next week? Steven Gerrard walking the team.
I can only imagine what that would feel like for a Liverpool fan. The hope and the belief would go through the roof.
Liverpool versus PSG's live on talkSPORT next Tuesday. Meanwhile, we're told, never mind the 82 million quid, Man City should have kept Julian Alvarez.
He's probably not been at his absolute best compared to last year. This year, but still stepping up in that moment to score a free kick of that quality at the Camp Nou. It was Messi-esque, but of course right-footed.
European football expert Dougie Critchley, after Alvarez opened the scoring, Atletico Madrid won 2-0 at Barcelona. Trouble for Max Verstappen today. He's losing his right-hand man at Red Bull. Senior engineer Giampiero Lambiase will become head of race engineering at McLaren from next season. And one of just 3 back-to-back Masters winners, Sir Nick Faldo, reckons Rory McIlroy can now go for a second career slam, but says he needs an emotional reset ahead of his Masters defence. England's Tommy Fleetwood is dreaming of his first win.
I would love to be there late on Sunday, in with a chance. I've never had that joy yet of playing on the back nine with a chance to win the Masters, and I'd really love that so much.
Updates all afternoon and through the weekend on talkSPORT. Fleetwood tees off at 2:55pm UK time. More at talksport.com.
talkSPORT News.
Oil prices are climbing as worries build over whether the Strait of Hormuz will fully reopen, and 4 people have died after a small boat sank in the English Channel. Emma has more in half an hour.
talkSPORT weather with QuickFit. With over 600 centres across the UK, most of which open 7 days a week, we're always there when you need us. QuickFit. Drive away happy every time.
In the southeast, warm sunny spells, a band of rain across Northern Ireland and Scotland pushing into Wales and England, turning cooler behind that with blustery showers, more unsettled into the weekend.
Good morning, everybody. You're listening to Jim White and Simon Jordan. We're live on talkSPORT. So, Champions League quarter-final defeat as Liverpool beaten 2-0 by Paris Saint-Germain, outclassed and outdone. How in play should we consider this tie to be? Meanwhile, is it important Leicester's survival will come down to those on the pitch and not the lawyers? Also today, would a European trophy for Forest or Palace be in spite of their owners? How do Premier League clubs fill the imminent gambling void? Should the human touch dictate fixtures? And from midday we talk boxing ahead of a big fight night. Where has the Fury buzz gone? Jim White and Simon Jordan, we're live in talkSPORT.
100% engagement.
Jim White and Simon Jordan on talkSPORT.
So I'm in the middle of a very powerful introduction to tomorrow's show, to this morning's show, and I look to my left and you're staring at me as if, I don't know what, as if I'm wearing something inappropriate.
I didn't realise you had a team-up suit.
This jacket was bought the other day.
Bought it?
Marylebone High Street, no less.
From an Oxfam shop?
No, not from an Oxfam shop. I decided I'm getting that, especially as there was a sizable discount involved. And the lady in the shop said, I really suited it.
Did she?
Yeah.
Well, she was selling it to you, fool. She wasn't going to turn around and say you look like a tramp in it, was she?
We don't all have a wardrobe like yours. I remember saying to Mr. Jordan recently, and that crew neck, or maybe roll neck, or maybe polo neck that you've got on this morning, That's a nice one. Yes, I buy them in tens. I buy 10 at a time. I buy 10 jackets. I buy 10 Rolex. That's exactly what you said.
OCD, that is, yeah.
OCD. Anyway, you having the jacket or not?
No, it is.
Thank you so much. Masters weekend, incidentally.
Is that what it's for?
There's a hint of green jacket in it, is there not?
Someone's blown the nose on it, Jim. It's bloody awful.
If you're watching on YouTube, if you're watching on your television this morning, don't worry, I won't be offended. 81089. You can message in and tell me what you think.
He's offended. I can see you bristling. You like your jacket, don't you? And someone coming in and saying it looks awful. It's not what you're liking at all, is it?
Well, not so much. If it was someone, yes. But
someone whose opinion you valued, you might take a notice of it.
Exactly. Simon, 2 bits of news for you as we progress. And we're going to talk Liverpool in a second. Martin O'Neill is on the way.
Is he?
Absolutely brilliant when I put it to them that how come Celtic have landed a home match against Hearts on the final day of the season? Have you not lucked out?
Which was my expression, yeah.
Which was your expression. He sends his very best to you.
Oh, does he?
In the meantime.
Or a version of it.
He's away out training with the first team this morning, but he's given us a very more than decent chat this morning.
Okay.
And I tell you who I was talking to this morning. The former manager of Alexander Usyk, Alex Krassyuk.
Oh, yeah? Yeah.
Krassyuk is talking about Alexander Usyk going in against this kickboxer, Rico Verhoeven.
Yeah.
He gives us his view on that. He gives us his view on the fact that Alexander Usyk is still fighting.
Okay.
He'd rather he wasn't.
Sure.
And he gives us his view on Fury against Makhmudov.
Okay.
So all that is on the way. Probably when, Luke? In the next hour? In the next hour and a half. Okay, let's not split hairs. But I'll try and find some way of getting on with the show this morning in spite of what I'm wearing. Champions League quarter-final defeat as Liverpool comfortably beaten 2-0 by Paris Saint-Germain. Simon, outclassed and outdone, and they were. Did we witness France's bona fide champions against England's paper champions?
Oh, no, they're not paper champions. I mean, they won the league legitimately. You can't discredit them by saying that. I mean, teams find it difficult to defend in the Premier League. There's very rare that they do, and it's obviously such a rarity because Man City was such a phenomenon. But more often than not, it's difficult to retain. There's been a few instances over the years when Man United did it, but it normally gets broken up by one of the other 3 or 4 big clubs.
I agree. They didn't look like champions last night.
No, they don't look like champions, and they don't sound like champions, and their manager doesn't sound like a champion either. He sounds like a person that's just getting his exit visas ready. Because listening to his press conference yesterday was again, I made the point yesterday, it's almost like he talks about Liverpool in the third person, as if it's not something he's inextricably indexed to.
Do you think he knows he's gone?
There's a part of me that thinks that. I mean, obviously, I read between the lines and hear journalists talking about the fact that Liverpool's ownership are not entertaining that idea at this moment in time and wanting to see, to maintain the support of him because of the credit in the bank that he's got for last year. And that, I don't know if that's journalistic thinking or it's based upon intelligence or some understanding of the actual thinking of the ownership model who were pretty close to their chest about what they do and don't do. Look, he speaks like somebody that's disconnected from the reality of a side that he's supposed to be producing. He also speaks in a very defeatist fashion. I know he talks about the fact that, of course, this tie's not done, but the language in which he used, and there's underlying criticism of players not tracking back. He talked about if you don't track back, you're going to get good players do to you what Man City did to us and what PSG did to us. And he talks about these rocket machines that are running down the wings of PSG as if he's never seen fast players before. Yeah. And these players aren't doing their jobs. The whole thing, to me, listening to it, if I was just closing my eyes and listening to it, I'd be thinking that was somebody that was pretty much resigned to the fact that he wasn't going to be Liverpool manager for much longer.
Do you know what? That's such a good point. Let's do that right now. Let's close our eyes and think of what Slot has said post-match.
Of course, you think you can do better, and when you press them high, you can force them to mistakes. But I think the way you describe it is maybe the perfect way to describe it. We were in survival mode for large parts of the game, and but maybe also in the period of the season where we're in survival mode. So to try to say to find ways where we can try to make sure that their qualities are not seen that much, but that's really, really, really hard against this team because last season over here we were in survival mode as well. But as I said, Paris Saint-Germain was the better team, but we didn't give up, and that's why we have a chance now still in this tie because they kept us alive by not scoring a few open chances, and now we can bring the tie back to Anfield.
Do you know what? They're still in the tie. Yeah, I get it. But have you ever heard of any Liverpool manager saying we were in survival mode?
Yeah, it's strange language to use. I mean, it's been a season of attrition on him. I mean, he was very stoic last year. He didn't react to the unlimited amount of praise that he got, because he got a lot of praise and he kept it all on the up and up. He didn't become excited by the praise that he got. And he's very stoic this season in a different way, but it feels like there's been a war of attrition on him in terms of the way that the team's playing. He doesn't know how to fix it. He can't seem to get a tune out of the team on a regular basis. He talks about Galatasaray and the fact that they were great. They were poor in the first leg and brilliant in the second, but Galatasaray were pretty poor in the second leg. And I know that you can say, and we should say, that in part that was because Liverpool made them poor. So we have to give credit where credit's due. But PSG, you know, we saw what can be done to PSG. I know that the outcome at the back end of the game for Chelsea was a poor one, when it looked like the game had really gotten away from them by losing 5-2. But for significant periods of that game, when Chelsea played against PSG, they were a dominant team. They were controlling the tempo of the game, and it looked like one way was the result going to be. Then they gave away a goal, and all of a sudden Chelsea capitulated, and the inexperience argument comes into play about how they can ship in three goals to lose 5-2.
Right.
So we saw how Chelsea could play against PSG away, but Liverpool went in there, set up purely to damage limitate and to make sure that they built on something. They've obviously gotten smashed on the weekend against Manchester City. You expected a reaction. It's the worst kind of team to play against to get a reaction from, because you're playing against a team that's in ascendancy. There's defending European champions. So no is the answer to your question, Jim. I haven't seen a Liverpool manager seemingly, in the language that he uses in conjunction with the media, whether it was to diffuse, because he knew it was coming his way. So the best way to diffuse an argument is to agree with it. Then it doesn't become much of an argument, does it? It doesn't become much of an onslaught. Yeah. Because he sits in front of the media saying what the media want to say to him. He tells the media we're ripped apart before they say it to him. Now, of course, I expect a different version of Liverpool in the second leg. I expect the outcomes to be slightly better than the previous one.
I mean, Anfield could be the leveller.
Yeah, he can't refer, though, to what this club has done in the past. This is not about a club, this is about a team.
Yeah.
Can your team live up to the club's reputation of the past? Not what the club has done in the past as a precursor to this team, because this team is a different animal than the club, the legends of the past that have done wonderful things, whether it be in the 70s with Souness and other people like him, or in the 80s with Kenny Dalglish and his achievements, and into the 2000s when we had the obviously the remarkable Champions League final against AC Milan. This Liverpool side looks like it's all at sea, and it looks like key players are sort of jumping into the lifeboats and blaming others for the outcomes rather than being responsible for them themselves. And I'm talking about Virgil van Dijk, I'm talking about the performances of Mohamed Salah, and I'm talking about some of the other big players in the team that haven't turned up this season, like Danny Murphy was referring to yesterday.
I mean, is not getting any worse as opposed to getting any better, is it actually going to work out for Slot? Because that's what it sounds like to me.
It depends upon the resolve. I mean, I absolutely and firmly believe that owners should only listen to certain aspects of the noise, because the owners have all the picture. And the media have a section of it, and the fans have another section. And I'm not suggesting these aren't informed opinions from media and fans, but they're not fully rounded.
Yeah.
So if the ownership model believes that not only is the currency in the bank from last year valuable, but also that there is a vision from Arne Slot to look at the challenges he's had this season and have clear directional rectification in his mind, then you have to listen to what the ownership thinks rather than what the fans think. But it looks like, talking to Danny yesterday, and of course there's an element of not wanting to sound disrespectful, it's a tittle-tattle, that the Liverpool fans have completely gone on Slots. Have completely gone. Now, if they play against PSG and they put up a fabulous performance and they get knocked out against PSG, people are not going to say it's a shameful outcome, but there's a distinct possibility Liverpool come out this season with nothing, and I mean nothing, not even having a Champions League berth.
And that would be the end.
And I can't see
that would have
the
to
way
be
forward
the
unless he's a wonderful salesman that's able to sell a very clear vision to the Liverpool ownership as to what the next step is to rectify the malaise of this season.
Right. You look at it, I'm going to put out the number as we head to the break. I'd like Liverpool fans to join us after this, and I'm quite sure you will do. When you look at it, 2-0, so the tie is still in play on paper. In reality, is it?
Unless there's a massive sea change in Liverpool's performance, yes, you can call upon the Anfield faithful to be able to get behind their team and create a European night that Liverpool have made a history out of doing.
Yeah.
But PSG are not slobs. They play in big environments. They play under big pressure. They're a big team. They won't wilt under the Anfield lights. It'll have to be about Liverpool's team being better than PSG on the night. And it's difficult to see how that, given what he described PSG as almost unbeatable. I mean, it wasn't just a description of Liverpool. It was a description of PSG about how bloody good they are.
Yeah.
Well, how wonderful. I mean, they don't need your PR. They can do it themselves, and that to me might be a statement of reality. It might be a positioning statement to suggest that the defeat to PSG over the 2 legs will not be such an existential threat to him. I don't know what's going through his mind, but he doesn't look like a man that's got his shoulders back and his chest out.
15 minutes past 10, and Liverpool fans are already calling in. I can see the numbers of calls coming in. Do the same, and who knows, you might get to air and join Simon and myself. 03717 223344. Should Liverpool always be more than just survival? And the tie, well, it's still in play. Yeah, looking at it, 2-0 on paper, still in play. But are you banking more on history than reality? Let us know. 03717 223344.
Let's go to Jay. He's an Arsenal fan. All right, Jay?
All right, Jay.
How you doing, lads?
All right, matey.
I'm all right, Jay. You happy?
Yeah. No, I'm not, mate. No, not really.
What do you mean?
That was absolutely diabolical. Where was Martinelli tonight? Where was he?
What do you mean? You just got one of the best assists of the season.
Oh, lovely. Yeah, Sporting Lisbon. Yeah, we're flying, aren't we, lads? Do you know what happened? Me and me boy. Listen, me and me boy.
Final of the Champions League. 1-1.
Me and me boy. I mean, mate that I work with, he's a Tottenham fan, right? So we've got a Tottenham fan in between us. We got the 68 minutes. We were all yawning.
No, it's a tough one.
Literally yawning. So listen, we flicked over to the Real Madrid game with Bayern Munich. Oh my days!
Hold on. You turned over.
Too right, mate. Why not do that,
you
Jamie?
turned over at Champions League quarter-final watching your team. You turned over and watched Real Madrid.
What do you want me to do? Go to bed at like 9:20, mate? Like,
that's an absolute disgrace. Jay, you're a disgrace. I'm sorry.
That is poor, mate.
That's
really?
shocking.
Why are you
You're not watching
that?
your own team.
Listen, I wanted to watch football tonight, so I had to
You're an
go
Arsenal
over to
fan.
Real Madrid and Bayern Munich to actually see a bit of football, lads. And what is all this all about? It's all about Arteta, isn't it? We're all crumbling. You know, the Carabao Cup, the FA Cup, we're gone. And then tonight was the night that we went out to Lisbon, right, and we put a foot down and we showed that we want to win the Champions League. We're up, mate, nothing tonight. Absolutely 68 minutes.
Good morning, everybody. 20 past 10 this Thursday morning. It's going to get up to 25 degrees here in London this afternoon. Not sunny, a bit cloudy, but it's at least going to be dry and warm. And I'm delighted to say Simon's off to Spain, where it's pouring down.
It's going to drop like the value of that jacket in temperature, isn't it?
Champions League quarter, and people letting me know what they think of my jacket. I'll maybe read one or two messages in time. Don't be influenced by little Lord.
I didn't know
Fauntleroy
Millets had moved on from camping outfitting.
Thank you so much. Champions League quarter-final defeat for Liverpool. 2-0. They lost last night in Paris. There's a second leg on the horizon. Can they turn it around? They think they can. But strangely, Arne Slot, post-match, was talking about we were in survival mode, outclassed and outdone. I mean, should they, and those are my words, outclassed and outdone, not Slot's, but really, when it comes to Liverpool, should Liverpool at any time of the day or night be in a match where it's only all about survival? 03717 223344. Kenny, I don't think it's King Kenny, but it's Kenny nonetheless. Kenny, good morning. What's your take on where you're at in this tie?
Well, first thing first, Simon giving tips on how to dress. That's a new one on me, by the way.
I like that, Kenny.
Wow.
And
You just stay in your shell suit, you.
Listen, you get yourself back in the cop, mate. We'll sort you out like you did last time you were here.
There you go.
Come back. Listen, boys, I don't know what's going on. The man just sounds defeated. It's a shame. Obviously, it was great times last season, but I think that it started when we played Paris Saint-Germain, funny enough, last season. We haven't really performed since then, going back nearly 12 months now. So this is not just like a new thing. This has gone on and gone on and gone on. And obviously what happened in the summer was a shame. But football-wise,
yes,
it's been happening from last season, this. Now, obviously, Liverpool have got a decision to make following Wednesday. The next Wednesday, they either keep them and put all their eggs in one basket that they're going to get into the Champions League, or they're going to have to make a decision. For me, I think they're only going to delay the inevitable. See how it goes Wednesday, of course, but obviously you can't make a change coming up to a massive game, a one-off game. But then following Wednesday, I think the club have got a big decision to make then, what they're going to do for the remainder of the season. You know, and I don't know which way that's going to go, and it's a shame.
Kenny, come on, you're a Liverpool fan and proud of it. We've seen huge European nights at Anfield. Might this be another one for you?
Hopefully. Listen, I'll be there. I'll be cheering the boys on, and I'll be coming out that ground horse. But listen, long as they give everything,
yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Yeah. I'll accept that. But what I won't accept the last so many weeks, where they threw the towel in and they've give up. As Liverpool fans, we won't accept that. What we will accept, they give 100%. They give everything. If we get beat by a better team, fair enough.
Yeah.
We'll take that on the chin.
Yeah.
But we're not having players coming on saying that we threw the towel in.
Great point, Kenny. Great point. Kenny, thanks for the call. Ricky, do you agree with Kenny? What do you think? Another Liverpool fan, Ricky, good morning.
Good morning, lads. Thanks for having me on. Obviously, I agree with them. I just want to make 2 quick points here. The first point is, I think Liverpool this season haven't had the depth in the squad. They've lost the wingers. They haven't got a proper holding midfielder. So I thought from the beginning, from the start of the season, the team wasn't right. Personally, that's my opinion. But regarding the match yesterday, I think, Slot was right. We were in survival mode. That game should have been 5-0. Liverpool were out cold, yeah. Now, I think what Liverpool should do, give the club a boost. They should get Steven Gerrard in now, because Gerrard will come and have a new idea. He'll pump the players up here, and they'll give them that boost. And I think all the crowd will get behind them. Yeah. And I think Liverpool still got a chance. You can't turn around and say,
well, this is it.
100% out of it, because they're not.
Ricky, let's put your Gerrard idea to Simon. What's your take on that?
I'm just trying to frame that in a conversation where Steven Gerrard could not cut it at Aston Villa in the Premier League, irrespective of how much of a legend he was at Liverpool as a player and how well he did at Rangers during the period of time that he was there. When it came on top at Aston Villa, he was miles off. And I don't know, besides the fact that people will be enthused by the fact that Gerrard is such a Liverpool legend to the fans, what that will actually do tactically and technically to a team that's not able to compete against the elite opposition it's against. Yeah. I think it makes no difference. I understand the jingoism of it, but I don't think it's a sensible thought process.
Ricky, thanks for the call. Matthew, I'm going to squeeze you in. You've been waiting patiently. Where are you at? I mean, the tie is still well and truly alive, is it not?
Yeah, still alive, but only by a thread. The thing I'd say, I mean, I've defended Slot all season, but he lost me last night. All at the beginning of the season, Simon Jordan brought it up several times. Like Slot was moaning about low block teams who rely on long throws and corners. That were our tactics last night. So it's like he's not got a direction. He don't know where he's going with it. So I'm all for getting Gerrard in. We've got great players at Liverpool. We only need a manager bounce. I don't think he needs to be tactically brilliant. Get the crowd up, get the players up. Let's see what happens.
Matthew, let's see what happens. Thanks for the call. David, we'll finish with you. Big Liverpool fan. You've heard the name Gerrard get mentioned time and time again. Slot is still the man in the hot seat, but should Liverpool ever be in survival mode, David?
No, it's not good enough. And get Gerrard in now. Do not wait till, I get it if we can get Xabi in now. I completely get that. But get Gerrard in now. Like the previous caller said, give us that manager bounce. Just like Man U did with Carrick. Give us that little bit of do you know what? Forget about this tactical things like that. We have got amazing players. No one can deny that. Just give them that freedom. Say, boys, you play for Liverpool Football Club. Go out there. Give us something. This Slot guy, to me, I've said this months back. After the PSV game and the Nottingham Forest game in 1 week when we lost 4-1, 3-0, the guy, he looks clueless. He's run out of ideas. Yesterday, for him to change the formation, to sit back like he did, absolute no balls, and to have 0 shots on target, 26% possession, and you still lose 2-0, and guess what? Should have been 5-0. That, to me, is forget about not good enough. That is... we're Liverpool Football Club.
No,
Come on.
This is it. David, thanks for that. If you're John W. Henry and you're for whatever reason you're listening to this show, and I'm sure they do over there, all these observations on Slot, all these observations on Gerrard.
I mean, it's very reactionary. And again, if someone shows you what they are, you have a tendency to believe it. We all know he was a fantastic player for Liverpool. We all know that. But as a manager, however you slice and dice it, the fellow that followed him afterwards, Aston Villa, showed you how to manage Aston Villa. So Gerrard couldn't do it as much as I would like him to have done it, and as much as I changed my views on him to some extent because I thought he really carried some gravitas at the beginning of his tenure at Villa. It came unstuck. Now, Liverpool are a big football club. They're not going to make a reactionary decision to bring Steven Gerrard in for 5 minutes. Why is Gerrard going to want to take a job? Are we advocating? I'm not sure the length and breadth of what the callers are saying. Are they advocating for him to come in, give him a bounce at the end of the season? Are they advocating to come in and be the Liverpool manager?
I think they're talking about it now.
Well,
interim with a view to permanent.
To what end? I mean, they can do that in the summer in a proper structured way. By the way, why, if you're Gerrard, would you want to go and do something? First of all, the players, maybe Slot is seeing the players are completely disconnected from the reality of what they're supposed to be doing, and actually banked up against PSG, because if he went toe-to-toe with them and had some balls, as the last caller said, they might have got done 6 and 7. That's how far and how disparate they've become. That might be some of Slot's thinking. It's a terrible thing for Liverpool fans to hear, but there might be some reality behind that. But I don't think, and I want to use my words without trying to be inflammatory, it's a grown-up set of thinking to bounce Steven Gerrard in for 7 Premier League games.
Yeah. But did you not say earlier that the way you think at the moment is that Slot virtually feels resigned to his fate?
Well, you've got to be bigger than... I mean, if he is, then he is. But that doesn't... This season is gone. And whilst Liverpool fans will say, well, actually, we can still play for the Champions League, and there's a point there, and maybe there is a point to say that Steven Gerrard bounces in.
Yeah.
But there's nothing about Steven Gerrard's managerial career, with respect to his tenure in Rangers, that tells you he's going to pick this group of players up who should know better and should do better.
Do you think they're gone? Next Tuesday night, they're out?
Yeah, I think it's... I mean, I hope I'm wrong. I hope that we see a resounding turnaround, because there's nothing more than I'd like to see that other European teams being dumped out on their backside, friendship with Nasser or not. I mean, all this wonderful loving about how wonderful PSG were, it's taken them a long time to get to a position, and they ain't that great. I mean, we saw them at times against Chelsea getting shown up a little bit. It's not beyond Liverpool's capabilities, but Klopp referring to the Galatasaray performance, that's an isolated performance against a lesser team.
Slot, yeah.
So it's not a comparison.
Having said that, did you expect Michael Carrick to take United on as he's done?
Different set of
scenarios. Gerrard, on the bounce, could Gerrard not do the same?
Because I thought that Amorim had created such a backdrop of challenge in his space where he was clearly not aligned with his players. And maybe someone could say the same about Slot. I mean, Man United was such a basket case at the time for a whole raft of reasons that there was really, with all due respect, none of the verticals have I seen go quite in ascendancy.
Yeah.
It was easier for Carrick than it would be for Gerrard, I think.
Okay. Life is difficult for Leicester, and it's got a lot more difficult. We're going to get to that shortly. All that, and of course, we'll talk boxing. And as I mentioned earlier, the former manager of Alexander Usyk has joined us, Alex Krassyuk. You don't want to miss that. 10:30, and we're live in talkSPORT with Selco, where the trade goes.
I mean, I know you want to be diplomatic and you'll maybe tiptoe around it, but would you have gone in for the Tottenham job? Would you have taken it? Given what we've seen, we've watched Tottenham and everyone's sort of dancing around it.
You just mentioned something there, and this would be more important to me, and obviously the career I've had, it does pay well. I wouldn't go in there. I wouldn't look looking for money. They could offer me a massive amount of money. I'm sure they're capable of it, and I'm sure, well, allegedly, they've offered De Zerbi a massive amount of money.
It would have been about
No, it'd have been about what you're going to gain me as a human being. What would I gain, right? You go in there, you get the job done. 6 games into next season. If you're not in the top 4 and the football's not what they want, rubbish, get them out. So you're not going to gain a lot there, are you? So then, and that's if you get the job done, because it's not easy. And then you don't get the job done, and then somehow it's on my neck that I took Tottenham down. You go, well, that ain't good for me as a human. This is not even about football. I'm going, well, that ain't good, is it?
What do you reckon?
You know what I mean? So I go, and then you get some money, and I go, well, I'm not thirsty for that. I've got some money, so how much do you want?
You know the dynamic of the industry. We all know the 2 biggest commodities in football are talent and gossip, right? Or money and gossip. Money and gossip, right?
You must have. Sad, I don't know if it's an equal measure. Money and gossip beats talent.
Money and gossip was what I meant. Money and gossip, right? What do you think is wrong with Tottenham?
Well, I mean, I find it I find it really interesting from the outside. I know Thomas. And if I was a Tottenham fan, and I know a few, I thought the manager was getting a hell of a lot of heat and weight on that. And if I was Tottenham, I'd be looking at some of the players, me personally, I'd be going, hang on a minute. Look at all this money they've spent. And money doesn't guarantee anything, by the way. It's another myth about football. But it gives you a better chance. And you're going, right, so spend this money. Look at these players. Allegedly, I keep hearing this, and I do at Forest, all these talented players. Talent is when you deliver. You can be telling if you're not delivering, that ain't talent.
Arne Slot admits Liverpool are lucky to be 2 goals down in their Champions League quarter-final with PSG. He's explained why he went with 5 at the back.
I thought we could try to press them really high and aggressive because Jeremy and Milos are also 2 players. If you press Hakimi and if you press Nuno Mendes, they play and they start to run.
Slot says Liverpool are in survival mode right now. Jamie O'Hara told Jason Cundy they should get Stevie G in before the second leg.
Could you imagine the atmosphere next week? Steven Gerrard walking the team out.
I can only imagine what that would feel like for a Liverpool fan. The hope and the belief would go through the roof.
Meanwhile, we're told never mind the 82 million quid Man City should have kept Julian Alvarez.
He's probably not been at his absolute best compared to last year this year, but still stepping up in that moment to score a free kick of that quality at the Camp Nou. It was Messi-esque, but of course right-footed.
And one of just 3 back-to-back Masters winners, Sir Nick Faldo, reckons Rory McIlroy can go for a 2nd career slam, but says he needs an emotional reset ahead of his Masters defence. England's Tommy Fleetwood is dreaming of his first win.
I would love to be there late on Sunday, in with a chance. I've never had that joy yet of playing on the back 9 with a chance to win the Masters, and I'd really love that so much.
Fleetwood tees off at 2:55 p.m. There's more at talksport.com.
If you were tuning in at the top at 10 o'clock this morning, you would hear my colleague and co-host Simon Jordan being quite beastly towards me regarding my apparel this morning with this newly purchased jacket. It's getting a mixed reaction by those watching on YouTube this morning. Is there a name in this one? Because I'm going to give this the works. Cracking jacket, Jim. I'm watching you right now on YouTube. Simon clearly going for the lighter jacket to enhance his fake tan.
Mr. W. Gummidge.
Oh, Stu, the Forest fan. Thank you very much indeed for that, Stu. Yeah, I totally agree with you on that. And I said,
well, they would do because they got the Forest of Sherwood, haven't they, around the corner from Nottingham Forest. He likes the colours.
There's a nice one there. No name in it. Jim, I'm watching you. You look like me at 4 a.m. coming back from the races. Thank you for that. And this is possibly the most reputationally damaging of the lot. Jim, I'm looking at you. You're morphing into Jeremy Corbyn. I don't know how that's happened, and I sincerely hope it hasn't. I know what's happened to Leicester City, and Leicester City fans must have hoped that it wouldn't. You'll remember, Simon, in February, a 6-point deduction was handed down to Leicester City by an independent commission, and that took Leicester then from 17th to 20th. And they've been in and around that area ever since. Now, Leicester City have the further bad news that they've lost their appeal against that 6-point deduction for breaching EFL financial rules. Leicester right down there in the grubber at the moment, second from the foot, right at the foot, of course, after a dismal season, but more so off the pitch than on it, is Sheffield Wednesday. But Leicester City are looking at relegation, of that there is no doubt. Leicester City back in February initially described the punishment as disproportionate. But here's the thing, Simon. The Premier League also failed in a bid, we now understand, to have an extra point deducted from Leicester for non-cooperation. Anyway, the short and the tall of it is the 6-point deduction stands. Is it important Leicester's survival, Simon, will come down to those on the pitch and not the lawyers?
Well, it always was, wasn't it? I mean, look at the performance. Irrespective of the 6 points, it's pretty abject. I mean, even with the 6 points being put back on, they would only be 19th in the league for a side that was relegated from the Premier League a couple of years ago. You look at it and think to yourself, what's gone on there? I mean, you've got supposedly decent players, and their former Palace player Jordan Ayew, who came on and scored the other day to equalise against Sheffield Wednesday, who've not won a game all season.
Right.
Shows you how poor they are.
Yeah.
For Leicester, because they barely got out of this. The players, what's happening off the field with point sanction, all that sort of stuff, that's got very little. People can use that as an excuse. They can build it into the dispiriting scenario that will have on the players. But even at 19th on the table, it's pretty crap for Leicester City. So they can not cover themselves in any glory. Now, they put themselves in a terrible position because it looks like now, you know, they've got Portsmouth have got a game in hand over them.
Right.
So they could find themselves 4 or 5 points out of the mix. I mean, the team West Brom above that. Another side in free fall, former Premier League side in recent years. West Brom, they were expected to be going the other way, as Leicester were. Both of them down in and amongst the brown stuff. And if you look at it and say Portsmouth win their game in hand, or albeit Portsmouth had a game against Oxford on the weekend, and you would have expected them to have won that game, and they didn't.
Yeah.
And they've got some difficult fixtures, Portsmouth, coming up. But if they do that, Leicester have got to make up 4 points in 5 games.
Yeah.
And that's an ask. And if you've got 47 points from 41 or 42 games, you're not a good side. So asking to perform like a good side in the last 5 games because it absolutely needs must, and you've changed managers, so it isn't about just the managerial side of things.
Yeah,
means it's fundamentally something very wrong with, with the team.
I mean,
and the ownership.
It's now 1 win in 9 across all competition under Gary Rowe.
And he's a good manager.
I know him as a
so
good
it's not
guy,
a managerial thing.
So 6 draws in there as well. But here's the thing: this time 10 years ago, and you know where I'm going, Leicester were en route to becoming Premier League champions, and now they're staring down the barrel of League One.
Well, that happens, isn't it? I mean, look at Leeds United. Leeds United were in the European Cup semi-finals and then found themselves in the League One about 4 or 5 years later. So it can happen to teams. Sheffield Wednesday were a team under, the late Trevor Francis, my manager at Palace, that were in 2 cup finals, the League Cup and the FA Cup final back in the mid-90s, early to mid-90s, and then boom, they've been out of the Premier League for 25 years in all kinds of financial chaos right now.
Yeah.
And so it happens to big clubs that have got history.
But these were the Premier League champions.
Well, yeah.
Who won it? But at a distance.
But so were Blackburn, and Blackburn got relegated 5 years later, and they've never really hit the heights again.
But you'd agree with me, this, and I'm not sticking the boot into Leicester or their ownership, but this is an unbelievable fall from grace, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean it is, and you have to ask yourself what's happened. I mean, we saw them in decline, we saw them stopping, to invest in players. We saw Brendan Rodgers talking about certain things and other managerial appointments that they made. And they talked about investing in their training ground. And they weren't going to buy so many players because they were going to invest in the facilities. And I sort of raised my eyebrow at the time and said, that's wonderful, but you've got to do both probably. They dropped out, they came back, and they've dropped again. and now they've dropped really. And this idea that you can get out of jail by constantly breaking, they got away with things. Let's have it right. This is long overdue. Leicester got away with it. Yeah. They got out of the stuff that they were in by having a very good lawyer that orchestrated technicalities that put them beyond the reach of the Premier League and the EFL in the same breath. They were not accountable. In the season they got relegated 2 or 3 years ago, they got let out of it by the Premier League because they were under their jurisdiction, and they didn't get caught by the EFL. And to some extent, they cheated their way through the EFL in the season they went up, because they didn't do what everyone else in the league had to do, which was comply with the governance of putting in budgets in place, and to suggest they complied with the EFL's profit and sustainability. And they didn't supply those budgets because they didn't want to, and they said they didn't have to because when the budgets were supposed to be put in, they were still a Premier League club, albeit on the cusp of relegation.
But the lawyer found loopholes.
And they can't. But at the end of the day, somebody tightened it and said, that's why the Stefan Borson was in about 2 weeks ago talking about the likely outcome of this hearing and their appeal, and he said there was very little chance, and so it has proved. And out comes a wonderful little epiphal from them that we need to do it on the field. Well, you needed to do it on the field with or without the appeal, and they've shown no indication that you can. You brought Gary Rowett in, who's a very sensible manager who'll do you a decent job, but you're amongst it now, and irrespective of the Gary Rowett effect, if you can't beat Sheffield Wednesday, who can you beat?
Yeah,
because they've been beaten by everybody.
This is the thing. And on Monday, as you said, Leicester scored a late one to rescue a draw at already relegated Sheffield Wednesday. We've been talking about Gary Rowett on the pitch. They've got it all to do, but they're up against it. This was Gary post-match.
We've got to go and win those games, as simple as that. But we've got to go and win every game because the games are running out. So if we're going to get criticised for not showing the fight, then we've got to show the quality in those forward areas. And there's been too many games where we've had opportunities and we haven't taken them. It's as simple as that. So, yeah, that's the frustration. I'm not too bothered about results around us. It's about what we do. I've said that from day one. I see a team working hard. I see a team creating opportunities. I see a team making the right decisions a little bit more consistently now, but we're not winning games and we're not taking chances. So that's a disappointment, of course.
That was Gary. I mean, are they looking at League One, Simon?
Well, they've got Swansea next. The big game will be Portsmouth, won't it? They've got Portsmouth on Saturday, the 18th of April.
Yeah.
So if Portsmouth haven't won their game in hand, or they haven't won the game that it correlates with the same time that Leicester are playing, it'll still be an opportunity for Leicester to beat Portsmouth at Portsmouth and get out of the bottom three.
Yeah.
But they've then got Hull, Millwall, and Blackburn. So none of these games are easy. I'm not looking at Portsmouth's fixtures at this moment in time. I'm just looking at Leicester's. And if you look at their recent form, what is it that tells you that they're going to get anywhere? They got a 2-0 win against Bristol City in the last month or so. But other than that, they ain't got a lot to write home about, have they?
No.
Draw. I mean, they've had some difficult fixtures in there.
Yeah.
But draw. And they had to beat. Come on.
Yeah.
They had to go and beat Sheffield Wednesday, irrespective of whether it's Sheffield Wednesday, irrespective of whether Sheffield Wednesday can now swing for the bleachers because they've got nothing to play for. There's no pressure on them whatsoever. Yeah. They haven't had anything to play for all season. Everyone's beat them.
Yeah.
So with respect, you had to go and win that game, and you didn't. Swansea. Well, I mean, again, it's a home game. It's a must-win game to give yourself a chance, because if Portsmouth get a win and they're 4 points clear of you, you're not in control of your destiny.
Sure,
you're not in control of your destiny anyway.
Gary, if you're listening this morning, we wish you well. The other side of the coin, Southampton, I've got to mention them. I mean, honestly,
they're remarkable, aren't they?
Fresh from that FA Cup quarter-final win over Arsenal, they've leapfrogged Wrexham into 6. Sure. Now, they have a game in hand over each of their playoff rivals. They move 2 points above Wrexham with the victory. Tonda Eckert, they won 5-1 against Wrexham. Tonda Eckert, I mean, this fella has taken control of the club, or control of the team. Actually, I was in touch with Dragon Solak last night. It was over at Augusta for the Masters. But he's thrilled about the way things are going. Won't speak yet because...
It should be.
We could well be on the eve of something great, but they are doing superbly.
Well, they're the form side, aren't they?
Yeah.
I mean, if you're, I mean, Ipswich now put themselves in a wonderful position, which is they've got 2 games in hand over most of the teams around them, and if Ipswich win those 2 games, they'll be on 78 points. They'll be up and away. They'll be promoted with Coventry. Then you look at the mix. Middlesbrough are declining forms. Millwall have hit a good run of form, but seem to have peaked recently.
Right.
And then you look at Hull that have been constantly there.
Yeah.
But Southampton on the side. Now, whether they lose their momentum is a different matter. I don't think they will. And then Wrexham sitting on the outside, having just been beat 5-1 at home by Southampton. That was the moment for Wrexham to lay a claim to this remarkable story that you want to keep reminding me of my observations 2 or 3 years ago. And the big time opportunity for Wrexham, and boom, 5-1 at home.
Yeah. Good luck to Southampton. We'll follow it with great interest all the way through to the end, just as we'll do today all the way through till 1 o'clock. It's 11:15 this Thursday morning, and we're live in talkSPORT with Selco, where the trade goes. I am delighted to say the man from Hackney, 28-year-old Vidal Riley, European Cruiserweight champion, joins us live in the studio. Loving it. The belts, the spoils of war. Well done.
I just want to say, I was born in Hackney, but I am from Tottenham.
Right.
Yeah.
Better be diplomatic on that one. How was it for you?
It was, it was a great experience being under a new promoter, new energy, big stage, just having the arena full to that capacity at the time as well, and just embracing my moment, just putting so much work in to get there, and just finally just enjoying being under the lights. It's been a year since I was out, since I was out again. So yeah, it just felt good to be back. It felt good.
Good. What kind of a step up was Masternak for you? Because this was a seasoned pro. He'd been in with Billum Smith. He'd been in with Tony Bellew. Hadn't won, but he'd been in with him.
Yes, no. Going into the fight, I never took him lightly. I never thought, okay, he's 38 now, I'm younger, that's going to be enough. There's a reason why he's been in the game this long. 50 wins, 33 knockouts. I'm going into the fight with 13 fights. There's no respectful reason for me to underestimate him. So I always knew it was going to pose this challenge, but I always knew that I could win in good fashion.
What do you think of this fella, Simon?
I thought it was a first-class performance. I mean, I think ultimately you talk about levels, and this guy was a European champion. Obviously, Vidal stepped up from English to British. He's doing it all the right way. English, British titles now at the European level.
Another big night in Europe tonight. It really is. For Aston Villa, for Nottingham Forest, and for Crystal Palace, dear to Mr. Jordan's heart. Bologna take on Villa in the Europa League. It's live on talkSPORT. Porto take on Nottingham Forest in the Europa League. Live on talkSPORT 2 for that one. And elsewhere in the Europa Conference League, of course. It shouldn't have been the Conference League, but it is. Crystal Palace up against Fiorentina. once of Brian Laudrup.
Just as well it was the Conference League, because some of their performances in the Conference League this season would have got them booted out of the Europa League pretty quick style.
Well, probably. But we all know why it's the Conference League.
Yep.
But Simon, such is life. After self-administered unravellings at both Palace and Forest this season, would a European trophy produce a kind of strange vindication for the prospective boardrooms?
Look, I mean, the reasons why these teams have been successful to get to a point where they're in the European competition and expected to do well in them is because the ownership introduced managers and players and huge finances and ambition and made decisions that were a seed capital for the managers then being able to get achievements. So then also you're going to have the flip side of it is that people will make decisions that don't always work out exactly the way they do. So it's not in spite of owners. It's not despite of boardroom decisions that people have got into places. Forest should do well in Europe. They should have done well. The travails in the league, yeah, okay. Whatever happened between him and Spirito Santo is whatever happened. He made a wrong turn a couple of times into Postecoglou, and for him, he believes Sean Dyche territory. For whatever reason, Sean Dyche wasn't the right fit, because surely Sean Dyche was just brought in to make sure they stayed in the division rather than anything else.
Yeah.
So, look, I mean, they should do well in Europe. And it's surprising. I mean, we've seen teams not do well in the Premier League and win European competitions, so they should do well. And Palace should do well in the situation in the European Conference. And unfortunately for Palace is they're caught in a stall where they employed a very good manager and a manager that lifted them to heights that the club hadn't been to before.
Yeah.
But it wasn't going to change, the economics of what he did wasn't going to change the financial landscape for the football club. It was going to change the perception of the manager's desire to kick on and have the football club put itself potentially in the way of harm by making financial decisions that were beyond its gift, its own revenue gift.
Yeah.
Unless its owners were going to pop up with some additional cash, which they don't appear to want to do. So
But Simon, my point here is, if Forest were to win the Europa League, if Crystal Palace were to win the Europa Conference League, it really is a head scratcher when you consider Forest have been sacking managers right, left, and centre. And not that long ago, Oliver Glasner was saying, Ezzy's gone, Gehi's gone, I feel abandoned. We all do.
Well, it's a head scratcher to say that if you win a European competition, the manager gets fired at Tottenham. But everyone, most sensible voices were saying, well, he's got to go because the performance of the team in the league was so dreadful.
Yeah.
And the European competitions were a get out of jail card for the rest of the problems, which are now really seeded in Tottenham Hotspur's demise. And you look at the situation surrounding Crystal Palace. I empathise with both sides of the equation. I empathise with Palace's ownership that don't want to break the model because there's no reason to. You can't just decide to suddenly switch on the finances of a football club by playing in a European competition that doesn't bring you any real revenue and suddenly decide that all of a sudden everything that you know has built the football club to be a stable position in the Premier League should be put at jeopardy because you've got an elite manager. But the flip side of that is if you get an elite manager and he takes you to heights, how do you keep him if you don't support him? So there's enough in that, despite losing Eze, and it's not, they didn't lose Eze, they didn't suddenly look behind the closet and he'd gone. They had a release clause, and the same with Elise. They had release clauses that now are a constant thorn in the side of football clubs, to some extent, about their top players being taken away from them by bigger clubs that have got bigger checkbooks.
Well, nonetheless, tonight Crystal Palace do have a great chance when they go in against Fiorentina, who are 15th in Serie A at this moment and not exactly pulling up trees. And only last week, I spoke to Oliver Glasner, if you recall. I was at Football Beyond Borders evening right here in London. And we reflected, the two of us, on what was, in the eyes of many, a bumpy season, but one that could yet end well.
The season feels very bumpy, honestly, but when I just look at the facts, and then I was just talking, I think today or yesterday, to one of my assistants, I think it's the second or third best season in Crystal Palace history at this stage of the season in the Premier League. We are in the quarterfinal of a European competition. We played the quarterfinal in the Carabao Cup. So with all the circumstances, selling Ebreches, selling Mark Gay, having a lot of noise in and around the club, it feels it's a massive achievement, and it's a great achievement from this group of players, because and I'm in football for many years, and it can also go very quick into the wrong direction. And we are in a good position in the Premier League. We are in a good position in the Conference League. Of course, it depends on how the season ends, but right now it feels it's a great season.
He said no matter what happens, he's always going to go back. In Austria, he's got a huge garden. He'll get on with life. He'll be very happy doing that. He said to me that night. Having said that, here's the thing. If they win the Europa Conference League, let's say they win it.
Which they have a distinct possibility that they could and should.
So would you, if you were there, will Parish, who is there, throw the kitchen sink at everything in an effort to keep Glasner.
Well, he would have done that already, wouldn't he? He would have done that already. He would have known very clearly when Glasner told us that they'd made a decision in October that they weren't going to discuss with anybody else besides themselves. They had made his mind up. I told you in summer that unless Glasner is given huge resources, not just resources that are brought out by players he sold, but huge resources on top of that, it was unlikely Glasner would sign a new contract because his currency was as high as it could get. And his ambitions were bigger than just simply being told that he needed to keep Palace in the Premier League and maybe once every millennium they might win a cup competition. So there was always going to be that challenge. So I don't think he's going to throw the kitchen sink at him because nothing's thing's changed. If he was going to, I mean, they've got to be fair. They've gone and spent 50 million quid on a centre forward in January and another 35 million quid on another centre forward.
Yeah.
So the argument could already be advanced that if it had done that in the summer, then maybe this might have averted Glasner's attitude and outlook. I probably wouldn't have done because I think Palace have been used to some extent as a stepping stone. For Glasner. He was introduced into the Premier League by Palace. Palace took a chance on him. Other people didn't. Palace did. And he did a job for them and rewarded them. He did say that this was probably their second or most third successful season. I'm assuming it's for the Premier League because he can't make that argument because Palace got into the Cup final in 1990 and finished third in the league, I think, in 91 and only missed out in Europe because of the ban of English football clubs.
I think it means in the Premier League.
I think he does, yeah. And I think that's probably unarguable. What he could have done, what he should have done, was kept his trap shut about all the challenges that he has, managed through the adversity of it, proven to everybody that even when you don't get things that you want, you can still manage effectively. And at the end of the season, walked away from Palace saying, I did a good job, and then tell everybody the circumstances in which he had to manage. And everyone would have respected him a lot more, and potential future employers would have said, well, there's a guy that knows how to manage an adversity.
I think future employers, though, if they end up winning this, future employers for Glasner will be queuing
Not
up.
for European Conference League. They won't be queuing up because he won the European Conference League for Palace. They'll be queuing up because
an FA Cup and a European Conference League trophy.
More so for the FA Cup than for the European Conference.
And comfortable survival in the Premier League.
I don't think people take it. Yes, it's all. But so have his predecessors managed to keep Palace in the Premier League at times. So it's not a feat that hasn't been achieved by Tony Pulis or Roy Hodgson or Alan Pardew, a bunch of other managers that are no longer in vogue. What people will also see, big clubs, not medium-sized football clubs, not football clubs that will take Oliver Glasner in a heartbeat. But I'm talking about the big clubs where Oliver Glasner wants to be. If you're a Manchester United or an Arsenal or Liverpool or any of the other big football clubs that at some point in the future might be looking at Oliver Glasner, might have even been looking at him already.
Yeah.
When you look at that, you think to yourself, well, is that the kind of attitude that we want? It might be justified. He might have some significant points behind his outburst. But there is a way of operating as an elite football club manager. And you don't look like you do that. Now, he came from Eintracht Frankfurt. He was perceived to be a little bit of a difficult bugger, and when he came into English football, it was all smooth sailing, and he played it the right way because I do understand that after the first season when they stayed up at a canter, took over from the car crash that Vieira had created, he expected to be backed.
Yeah,
he wasn't backed, but what he did was he did the pragmatic thing, which was I've only been here 5 minutes. I'm sure I'll get backed in the future.
Yeah.
So when they win the FA Cup and the kick-on mentalities in the fans and the opportunity to do what 1979 everyone thought Palace were going to do, become the team of the 80s, and they never did because there's no investment, was going to happen. And it hasn't happened. So I understand why he's done it. And I understand why he wants to leave. I understand why serving his 3-year contract is all he's prepared to do. And fair play to him, he's done a bloody good job. But what he did in the middle of the season and the way that he did it was childish.
Yeah, but if he was at a huge club, a big club,
they weren't like
he would
that.
Be backed.
No, but not always. I mean, Mourinho had a tantrum because he couldn't get Harry Maguire at the time.
Yeah, but he wouldn't feel abandoned. A big
But
club.
that was just silly, wasn't it? It was just silly. I mean, it's silly.
He had no regrets last week when
no,
he
I'm
spoke
sure
to
he
me.
didn't because he either double down on the fact that he was right, or not be prepared because he believes he's right, or not be prepared to say, well, actually, probably that wasn't my wisest move because he wasn't abandoned. There was a necessity. Palace could have sold Guehi in the summer of 2024 for 68 million quid. Fact. They kept him. Guehi was going on a free. What was the alternative? Not to sell him. Now, of course, he wanted to make him available for a game. He wanted to do what another football club had done, Bournemouth had done with Semenya, which is have him available for another game. And this abandoned nonsense. It's just silly.
All right.
It's not real. It's a construct of his own mind.
Yeah.
And he should have been maturer to have gone, I'm raging, but I'm not going to do this because actually it's not a good look. There's no need for it.
Okay, talking about a good look, messages still coming in. Many people saying what a lovely jacket I bought myself. Those watching on YouTube this morning. And there's Tony. Jim, I like your jacket. Significant, isn't it, that at 10:45 precisely,
Last of the summer wine.
Simon decided to take his off and hang it over the back
Last
of
of the
his chair.
summer wine, that is, but belongs to Foggy or Compo or Clegg.
It is Compo White, it's Simon Jordan, and we're live on talkSPORT with Selco. Where the trade goes, it's 11. Sporting had previously won 17 home games in a row across all competitions. Arteta was interesting on that. Arsenal looked at that record and thought, oh yeah, watch this.
That's when you have a difficult period. I think the best thing that you can do, instead of talk a lot, is observe. Look around you and see how people react. How they talk, how they look at you, how they judge you, what they do. Do they look at themselves? Do they start to criticize other people? Look around and you're going to learn the environment and the people that you have around you. And I cannot be prouder to work in a club with people that the only thing they could do is ask, what else can I do to help? And when you have people like this, I don't know if it's going to take another week or two, but something good, it will happen at the end because we deserve it.
There's a smirk that's almost a little giggle from Simon. Why?
I just think it's a new way of communicating that doesn't really resonate with me. I mean, players' jobs are to perform in every single game as much as they possibly can. And what you could ask the away travelling fans was how they could have been helped on Saturday with the embarrassment of losing to Southampton. You know, those circumstances. But what it does prove is that the idea that you've got to take each game in isolation. Every game has its own connotation. The cup final against Man City was a 50-50 game in which Arsenal didn't play well in the second half. The cup quarter final was a poor performance. You and lots of people yesterday were referring to the fact this was a very difficult task. I thought Arsenal would get a result. I thought Arsenal would come back from that game with, at the very least, a draw. They've gone there. They've done the job.
talkSPORT Sports Update, powered by the Nissan Van range, helping business owners to work better and live better. Search Nissan Vans or head to your local Nissan Van centre.
With your headlines at 11:02, I'm Nick Ellaby. Good morning. Former Crystal Palace chairman Simon Jordan says on one level, Arne Slot sounds like a man whose exit visa is ready to be rubber stamped.
The whole thing, to me, listening to it, if I was just closing my eyes and listening to it, I'd be thinking that was somebody that was pretty much resigned to the fact that he wasn't going to be the Liverpool manager for much longer.
Following the 2-0 defeat to PSG, Arne Slot says Liverpool are in survival mode right now and are lucky to still be in the tie. talkSPORT's Adrian Durham isn't sure Anfield will give Slot the platform he needs to turn things around.
There's so many question marks, and I think that means that the Liverpool fans don't connect with the team as much as they used to. Yeah. They're going to need a big night at Anfield. They're going to need a big atmosphere. I'm not quite sure the fans are ready to get behind this side.
Liverpool versus PSG is live on talkSPORT next Tuesday. Now, the Grand National's defending champion is out of this year's race. Nick Rocket's apparently coughing. First reserve Pied Piper will take his place. Max Verstappen's losing his engineer at Red Bull in a shock move. Gianpiero Lambiase will become McLaren's head of engineering from 2028, we think. Verstappen has already said he's beyond frustrated with new regulations this season. And three-time Masters champion Sir Nick Faldo believes Rory McIlroy could go for a second career Grand Slam. Now the monkey's off his back, Rory's feeling relaxed after 3 weeks getting ready at home.
I know that I can do it now, so that should make it a little easier for me to go out and play the golf that I want to play.
Rory's Masters defence gets underway in this afternoon's group at 3:31 p.m. UK time. More at talksport.com.
talkSPORT News.
The Foreign Secretary says getting oil through the Strait of Hormuz must remain toll-free, and 2 men and 2 women have died after trying to cross the channel in a small boat. Emma has more in half an hour.
talkSPORT weather with QuickFit. The season's changing, so get your car's shim pads and studs checked for spring with a free vehicle safety check. Book in centre or at quickfit.com today.
In the southeast, warm, sunny spells, a band of rain crossing the west coast. That's moving east, turning cooler behind that with blustery showers, more unsettled into the weekend.
Good morning, everybody. 5 minutes past 11 o'clock. It's Jim White and Simon Jordan. We are live on talkSPORT. We're also live on YouTube, even Prime Video. Wherever you want to watch the show, you can watch it with us all the way through until 1 o'clock. From 12 onwards, we'll talk boxing. We're about to talk boxing in a second. Spencer Oliver will join us around 12. In between now and then, you're going to hear from Celtic interim manager Martin O'Neill on that run-in. Will it be Hearts who end up Scottish champions? Will it be Rangers, or will it be Martin's Celtic? Martin in great form this morning when I spoke to him earlier on. Big fight, of course, coming up on Saturday night. Tyson Fury is back and he takes on the giant Russian Arslanbek Makhmudov. All eyes will be on that. Not least Alexander Usyk and his camp will be watching events when Fury goes in again, this time against Makhmudov. Even his former promoter, the man who was up until recently Alexander Usyk's career-long promoter, he is Alex Krassyuk. I wonder what he thinks of the fight this weekend with Fury coming back and taking on Makhmudov. I spoke to Krassyuk just a short time ago, and the Ukrainian had a bunch of opinion that I'm sure all boxing fans are going to find interesting. First off, and he hasn't spoken much about it, I asked him about this split between himself and Alexander Usyk and how was life for him without the best boxer in the world.
Thanks God, it's all fine. That was a pleasant period of my life, a very good journey. We made tremendous work together, but life is going on and we are doing what we have to do.
I know you keep a close eye on what is going on in the boxing world. Could you ever have envisaged the day that Alexander Usyk is going to fight a kickboxer, Rico Verhoeven? What do you think?
That would probably sound weird, but if I was there, that fight would probably not happen. Well, it's more like a joke, but on the other hand, I do understand Usyk and I do understand this decision because there are not too many options for him. Being on the level he is, being on the raid, he's an undisputed champion and he has the right to enjoy his career, and fighting a kickboxer, if it makes sense financial-wise, why not?
If you were still with him, this wouldn't be happening.
Definitely, because if I was still with him and he would be listening to me, he would retire after the second fight with Tyson Fury. He achieved everything possible. He earned as much money as only he could dream of, or even not, even more. So he is the national hero in his homeland. He is a well-recognized star in the whole world. Not just a boxing star, but the sports star. What else he has to prove? So nothing for me, nothing else. So he has just to jump to take the final decision to finish boxing and to jump into the new phase of his career, of his life, actually.
I think I know you well enough to ask you this. Because Alexander wants to fight on and you wished he had retired, was that the reason that you parted company from each other?
Not really. There were multiple reasons, and we worked together for 12 years. Our contract expired long before we stopped our cooperation. So that was an adult decision. Where we stopped because it had to stop at some page, and his new team, people around him, wanted to try being the bosses on their own. Why not? Everyone has the right to try.
Do you worry about him fighting on?
I'm not worrying about him because he's blessed. He's kissed by the Lord. If Lord is behind him, why should I worry?
Tyson Fury is back again this weekend. He fights Makhmudov. What do you think of that one, Alex?
Same as with Usyk. He hasn't got too many options to fight with. He actually fought everyone serious in the business, and we need not to forget that Tyson Fury is coming back from his retirement again. So, and Makhmudov is a very good option for the comeback fight.
Do you give Makhmudov any chance here?
Of course. This is heavyweight boxing. Makhmudov is not a beginner. You remember Tyson Fury fighting the MMA star. No one gave him a single chance, but Tyson was down in the fight. So you can't leave a guy, an opponent on that level without a single chance. Of course he has. Definitely Tyson Fury is the favorite. Definitely Tyson Fury is making his comeback fight and everyone expects him to win. But the fight will be very well watched in the world, and not just in the UK but in the world, because number one is Tyson Fury and number two, this is a heavyweight battle.
Potentially, Alex, one of the big money fights remains Fury-Usyk for a third time. Do you ever see that happening?
Yes, I see that happening because that's the only logical outcome of what is happening now. Assuming Tyson wins, assuming Usyk wins, that fight is very logical by the end of this year. And I assume Turki Al-Sheikh, being the magician of the industry now, he's having that in mind. I have zero confirmation on that, and this is just my personal opinion. But if people are there to make money on boxing, that's one of several fights that has money in. The other one is AJ with Tyson, which also very preferable for the public and very possible to happen.
That was Alex Krassyuk, long-time promoter of Alexander Usyk. Simon, in the embers of Fury's career, of Usyk's career, of AJ's career, it's interesting to see how the three will all shape their own endings.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting. I mean, Fury has lots of options. He has lots of options. So he can fight Makhmudov, and you know, the only doubt in this fight is if Fury has nothing left of himself, which is no indication there won't be. And he'll have far too much for Makhmudov. It's a nice tune-up fight for him. He could fight Anthony Joshua, he could fight Ajit Kabiel, he could fight Moses Atoma, he can fight Usyk. He's got lots of. He can fight Daniel Dubois, he can fight a whole raft of people, and the same for Usyk. The interesting thing for Usyk is, of course, he knows him. And there will be, I mean, I think Usyk wanted to maintain more of the money as well. I think part of the reasons why they split companies, Usyk didn't want to pay him the percentage that he was getting out of the fights. And of course, the level of Usyk's purses have gotten bigger and bigger, and so will the remuneration for other people have gotten bigger and bigger. And it won't have been lost on the fighter that the scale of his purses are being reduced by X factor, that someone he thinks perhaps he could do the job himself.
Yeah.
Now, there's nothing about Usyk that, first of all, the mindset of a fighter. Is Usyk a fighter that fights for money, or is he a fighter because he fights? I think he's a fighter because he fights, and I think the sideshow is the money that he gets now, and it's part and parcel of the shtick that goes with him. So the understanding the mentality of the man, he understands the mentality of the man better than anyone else. Is there any decline in Usyk? We just saw Usyk wipe the floor with Daniel Dubois. Wipe the floor with him.
Yeah.
As good as he's ever been, if not better.
Yeah.
There's no decline in him. He's at the pinnacle of his powers. And so the only fight that I would suggest that Usyk doesn't really want to be anywhere near is probably Moses Atoma, because that potentially has a legacy busting perspective. No one wants to see the old guard getting bashed into the next life by the new one. Boxing fans do, but not the people around the old guard. So Usyk, if he's lived the life that he's lived a life that's been committed to his sport without any distractions, besides his support of his nation and the challenge that the Ukraine nation has had as a result of the illegal invasion from the Russians. But other than that, he's lived his life completely focused on the sport with a discipline and an inherent responsibility to being a consummate professional. So he is a different animal than, say, Tyson Fury. Tyson Fury doesn't live that life that way.
Right.
So the fact that he wants to continue fighting, there's always a risk. There was a risk at 25 years of age, his health was in jeopardy. There's a risk at 30 years of age. The fact is, he's so far and above everybody else at this moment in time that actually it's money for old rope, unless you're going to put someone really difficult in against him, which might be a young Moses Atoma.
Interesting that he wouldn't have had him go in against Rico Verhoeven. He wouldn't have.
Oh, he would have done.
He would have done.
It's easy for him to say now, but he's a commercial man. He wasn't strategizing about the way Alexander Usyk fights. He was strategizing about the commercial reality of Alexander Usyk and who he fights to make the most opportunities.
Yeah.
So Rico Verhoeven is a sideshow. It's a bag of money that creates an outcome that's been done by many a fighter in the past, all the way back to Muhammad Ali in the 70s, who was the originator of the big purses for boxers. So if it's good enough for him, it's good enough for Tyson, for Alexander Usyk. The only caveat I have to that is I think it's a discredit if it's for the WBC belt. That's laughable. If the WBC wants to put the actual belt on the line, that's shocking. It's a complete and utter degradation of duty to the other fighters in the division.
Yeah.
At the same time as a diminishing of the value of the WBC brand. But that's their gift. That's their loss. Right. Other people will take advantage as a result of it.
Yeah.
I don't blame him for it. I just don't like the fact that he sat on his laurels for a period of time. You know, the other belts have been tied up while he's done it.
Yeah.
He was injured, so he couldn't fight Joe Parker, and Joe Parker got himself into a terrible mess there on afterwards, isn't he? In terms of losing to Fabio Broadley and testing positive for drugs and all kinds of things. So there's all challenges as a result of it, cause and effects. But I think that Usyk has every right to continue fighting. And if we see Usyk go into a fight, and we see a diminished version of him, then that's a different discussion.
Yeah.
But if he wants to fight on, and his psyche is the same, then I don't think it's anyone's gift.
Yeah. And you heard Krassyuk there. If he overcomes Verhoeven, what might be next? Well, maybe further down the line, it could be a third fight with Fury.
Well, yeah, Fury will want that. I mean, we know, Makhmudov has got 2 chances to win this fight, no chance, and Slim left town. So he's in a situation now where the only version of Tyson Fury that he gets that Makhmudov can beat is a completely washed out one that spent like 16 months out of the ring and is not prepared for this fight. Other than that, to me, it's a foregone conclusion on the weekend.
Right.
And so where Fury goes next, where's the money? If Fury's in pursuit of money, he doesn't need any money. He keeps on telling everyone how much money he's got, so he doesn't need the money. So I'm assuming it can't just be he's after the money of the fights. It must be he's after some sort of recognition.
Yeah.
So that must be a world title shot. And who's that against? Maybe the win of Dubois Wardley.
You've got to see him fight AJ at some stage.
Well, I'm not that bothered about it, but I understand why everyone else is.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not that bothered about Tyson Fury. As far as I'm concerned, he is what he is, and I don't like the way he operates. But I marvelled over his career back in the day. I'm not so much an admirer of him now because of his attitude and outlook outside of the ring. But insofar as fighting Anthony Joshua, it's one of those circles that everyone thinks need to be squared. If you want to put 2 diminished fighters into a ring and package it like we do so well in this country as the real deal, then people will come and watch it.
Okay, we'll build up to Fury Makhmudov from 12 onwards with little Spencer Oliver. It's 11:15.
Maguire turns like an ocean liner, and they take a time to turn, and you see that in an instance, an £80 million footballer that can't move.
A bit harsh, Simon, a bit harsh. I didn't like that from Simon.
Yeah. Well, he's certainly silenced those critics, hasn't he, in his
Simon
performances for the last couple of seasons, Gabby?
I felt sorry for him because he wasn't at his best, but it got to a stage where it was bullying, online bullying of Harry Maguire. Everyone jumping on the bandwagon, setting up reels of every little mistake he did, when you can do that on every player in the world, the mistakes that they make. And then you had pundits being harsh. Roy Keane was harsh. You've heard Simon there. A bit overkill, to be honest. I'm happy for him. Amorim didn't play him enough. He's had his injury problems, but since he's come back into the team under Michael Carrick, he's been one of Manchester United's best players. New deal, back in the England squad. And I think he'll go to the World Cup and hopefully has a good World Cup for his country.
Like you mentioned there, he fell out of favour under Erik ten Hag. Like you mentioned, struggled for game time under Ruben Amorim. But, he's enjoying a revival under Michael Carrick, starting all 10 matches since his appointment in mid-January. Also, now he's signed a new 1-year contract to the club with the option of an extra year extension. And bearing in mind he was out of contract at the end of the season, Director of Football Jason Wilcox says here, Harry represents the mentality and resilience required to perform for Manchester United. He's shown such great mental strength, and that's really what needs to be applauded.
100%. I mean, a lot of other footballers, maybe the younger generation, probably would have crumbled with the online bullying that he received.
The talkSPORT 20k giveaway.
I used to say this on deadline day, the clock is ticking, but it is. You have until 4 today to put yourself in the running for £20,000. Imagine that, 20 grand, tax-free. Come on. For your chance to win, then text WIN to 83338. Text costs £2.50 plus your standard network rate. The number to call 0343 418 7260. Lines close today at 4 o'clock. That's when you'll need to answer your phone if it rings. That's usually the procedure. 18 plus UK residents only. It's a network promotion. Full terms and conditions at talksport.com. At about 11:45, you're going to be hearing from Celtic manager Martin O'Neill, who's thoroughly looking forward to the run-in as Hearts, as Rangers and Martin Celtic all go for the title up in Scotland. Martin was asking for you this morning, Simon, when I had a chat with him just before we came on.
In his inimitable way.
In his own inimitable way. Here's the thing. Not here, but in Spain. You probably remember, Simon, in December, La Liga players expressed their opposition to La Liga's plan to play a domestic fixture, and that fixture was Villarreal versus Barcelona, to play that game not in Spain, but in Miami, Florida. We're not having it, said the players. And they demonstrated that in a coordinated protest. The players stood still for the first 15 seconds of match day 9. Each and every game in La Liga on match day 9, the players did this. First 15 seconds of the match, the whistle blew, and they did nothing for 15 seconds. It was covered widely, of course, in Spain. It was covered throughout the world. Now, the Players' Union claimed it was a peaceful protest protected under the right to freedom of speech, and they denied any financial loss or reputational damage had occurred to La Liga. La Liga weren't having it, and they went legal. But La Liga have now lost their lawsuit against the Spanish FA, the Spanish PFA, over that 15-second player protest that we saw. So, Simon, quite simply here, the players have won the day. Have the Spanish courts shown that players do indeed need to be at the table when it comes to an announcement like, we're going to play your fixture, Villarreal and Barcelona, in Miami?
Yeah, I mean, you can have the table. You can have the Spanish players at the table when you're negotiating with the broadcasters as well, if you want. You can have the Spanish players at the table when you're negotiating with the commercial sponsors. You can have the Spanish players at the table when you're negotiating everything. But what you'll be told by the Spanish players is what they don't want to do, as you're being told by footballers around the world. Now, the irony of it is I kind of half agree with the principle of not having the necessity to take these games, these domestic games, overseas. I understand. I'm a major advocate of it not being in the Premier League because I don't think they need to do it. The Spanish League probably does need to do it, and so does Serie A, because they're so far behind the curve in terms of the economics of the Premier League. They're getting dominated by them, so they're trying to find alternate revenue streams to be able to maximise the opportunity for whom? For the players. Because we all know that, commercially speaking, the major costs attached to football, and so it should be, are the players. The major beneficiaries of all of the upsizing in the economic returns that footballers get, that they probably, if they pinched themselves 25 years ago, they wouldn't be able to believe what they're getting paid now, has been all the commercial decisions that have been made whilst they haven't been at the table. And the only reason they want to be at the table is because they want to tell you what they don't want to do. And the only people that really want to be at the table are the union, because never was there an industry that needed a union less than professional footballers. A union's job is to fundamentally be paid for by its members and to represent its members in unedifying circumstances and disadvantaging employees. Have you ever known an industry where employees are more prevalent than professional sport and certainly
I know this is your line. I'm
asking you. I'm not just giving you a soliloquy. You've got an industry which has players so rewarded, so applauded, so lauded, so appreciated, and so supported in everything they do, whether it's at the bottom of the pyramid or it's at the top.
Yeah.
And so what is the union's purpose? So the existence of a union now. Now, do I think that the Spanish FA, Javier Tebas, if it was him indeed,
it was,
that brought this action, where were they going to visit the outcome? Where were they going to visit this 8.7 million pounds worth of revenue or euros worth of revenue they say they've lost as a result of the players standing still for 15 seconds? Because it's ultimately, they're not the employers. The employers of the players were the clubs. So it feels to me that they had to do something, because if they didn't make a point of either going to court and losing, but at least making them go to court, what would the players do next? Stand still for 30 seconds? Stand still for a minute?
Yeah, but
stand still for 5 minutes?
You would concede this would all have been avoided if La Liga had said to the union, we'll talk to your players, we'll talk to your members, especially the players of Villarreal and Barcelona, because do they really want this game to be played in Miami, Florida?
Let me ask the question. What is it you think that the players would have said at that meeting? We know what they would have said, or more to the point, their representation would have said.
I hesitate to say this. Would it not have been a courtesy?
Well, what courtesies? So what other courtesies?
To include them.
So what other courtesies? So let's get it right. You're going to go and play a game abroad. Is there issue about the fact that the fans aren't being brought into the equation? What is their issue about, given the fact that they play in overseas tours, they play in European competitions? What is the big deal, just out of curiosity?
Well, I think the fans weren't having it either.
Yeah, but they're not. So the players are operating on behalf of the fans, or the players are operating on behalf of themselves? Because it would appear to me that the players are operating on behalf of themselves, and there's an ideological objection to the fact that they're going to play in a game in the middle of a season overseas. Now, we all know that they're not going to be flying in coach with their knees up around their ears, right? So we all know that it's not a big issue. So what's the point? I tell you what the point is. It's the union, with respect, adding value to the fact that they're not needed really anymore. Because as I say, and I state again, what industry do you think needs a union less than professional sports? I understand why train drivers have a union. I understand, even with my attitude towards the appalling strikes going on by the BMA, understand why the medical industry has reasons for having an industry. What is it about the football industry that has players working 12 hours a week, rewarded and applauded and lauded and given absolute opportunities to be in a significant position in life, whether they're playing in League 2 or the Premier League, and the union's job is to sit there telling people, hang on, thank you for putting our members in such a wonderful position that we had bugger all to do with. The only thing we've done as a union is demand 1% of the receipts for being an aggravation to everybody and a destructive element. So what is it you think we need to do to be able to advance the next step of commercial revenue, which, by the way, our members get 90% of?
All right, so you maintain the view that you maintain the view that La Liga were quite right not to engage with the union / the players.
But okay,
we don't need to talk to you. You're on that flight. You're going to Miami. This is happening. Now get over there, play the game, and get back.
There is a point where people have to accept that there is a hierarchical chain, and that ultimately people make decisions that they have to live with. So they weren't at the table when it came to negotiating. So when the Premier League was negotiating the broadcast deal with Sky, do you think the Players' Union was in on that one then, do you? What would be the purpose of that? So they could pop up with their little 2 penny for what they weren't going to do, whilst the broadcaster's paying over 1.7 billion quid per season. But by the way, we want to put our 2 penny thing because our members won't be doing this. Oh, that would be helpful. Thank you very much for that part of the commercial negotiation. No, you just sat there taking your 1% and watching your players get turned into multimillionaires overnight from the top of the pyramid almost down to 2/3 of it. Right? So with due respect, I don't mind constructive observations.
Oh, that's kind of it.
But there's no constructive observation. We'll tell you what we don't want to do.
Yeah.
Fantastic. I'm trying to make more money to square a circle that you will be the beneficiary of, and you're the roadblock. Oh, well done. Now, would I have brought an action? Tebas is not a fool, despite some of his protestations. And his observation will be, perhaps we had to do this because otherwise these saucy sods will keep on pushing the envelope, even though they're standing still for 15 seconds. You know, what
15 seconds? Well, the Spain's National Court said that what they did for those 15 seconds, the actions were, of course, no consequence to the day's proceedings and could not be classified as a strike.
That's true.
So the players did the authorities here with that cute little 15 seconds standing still.
That's why it's flawed, right? But
you want us to go to Miami? You should have spoken to us.
Well, what happens?
We ain't going.
But if they wanted them to go to, we call them in a room. Would you like to go to Miami? No. Okay. We'd like you to go to Miami. We don't want to go. Oh, well, you're going then, okay? We've had a discussion with you. You concluded at the table. Is that better for you? Now, you are now at the table. No, we want to be at the table so we can say no. Well, you can do that by memo.
Right.
You don't need to be in the room. It's not a case, I don't want to exclude them.
Yeah.
I want a constructive outcome.
When talkSPORT want us to do a show from Cheltenham, I'm consulted about it. When they want me to do a show from somewhere else, Newcastle, I'm consulted about. Oh, hang on, I've just remembered. You don't go to these shows, do you?
I'm consulted. I'm consulted. I exercise my democratic right not to perform.
Don't consult me because I'm not going.
But then I don't get paid.
Oh, there you go. Yeah.
So there you are.
Anyway, the player said, no thanks, not for us, after standing still for 15 seconds, and they won in court.
Someone stands still for much longer than that, don't they?
In your pipe, Senor Tebas, and smoke it. It's 11:30. Cucurella has said one or two things that you might have thought would have landed him in similar trouble, but hasn't, whereas Fernandes has been punished. Where do you stand on this? Is it impossible for Fernandes to wear the Chelsea captain's armband again, or is it no highly likely that he will, in view of what the noises are coming out of Chelsea?
No, I think if you get punished and you take it the right way, then he can change and get better and wear the armband again if he has lots of qualities that the manager sees in him. I quite like the punishment. I do feel for the manager at the moment. They've been on a bad run, and he's getting a bit of unfair criticism. It's a lose-lose, really, because if he doesn't do anything, then he's looking like he's not being disciplined enough, and someone will criticise. And if he does it, and then they lose to Man City without arguably one of their best players, their captain, and it's like, why you punish him? Could have fined him, whatever. But I think from a player's perspective is how I always look at it. I think when I've had managers that show a real firm hand to players who you wouldn't think would be treated that way, and I could give you examples, it makes everyone else go, whoa. I remember Houle when he got the sole job on his own and he went, bum, he got rid of Incy straight away. Didn't want him. Nobody couldn't believe it. He was captain. I remember Neil Lennon was a legend at Crewe, and he messed around one day, sneaking his car down to the train ground where we were supposed to jog down. It was like part of the warm-up, and he'd hide his car at the pub, and the manager, saw that he did it, and he didn't play him at the weekend. Done.
Arne Slot admits Liverpool are lucky to be 2 goals down in their Champions League quarter-final with PSG. He's explained why he went with 5 at the back.
I thought we could try to press them really high and aggressive, because Jeremy and Milos are also 2 players. If you press Hakimi and if you press Nuno Mendes, they play and they start to run.
Slot says Liverpool are in survival mode right now. Jamie O'Hara told Jason Cundy they should get Stevie G in before the second leg.
Could you imagine the atmosphere next week? Steven Gerrard walking the team out.
I can only imagine what that would feel like for a Liverpool fan. The hope and the belief would go through the roof.
Meanwhile, we're told never mind the 82 million quid Man City should have kept Julian Alvarez.
He's probably not been at his absolute best compared to last year this year, but still stepping up in that moment to score a free kick of that quality at the Camp Nou. It was Messi-esque, but of course right-footed.
And one of just 3 back-to-back Masters winners, Sir Nick Faldo, reckons Rory McIlroy can go for a second career slam, but says he needs an emotional reset ahead of his Masters defence. England's Tommy Fleetwood is dreaming of his first win.
I would love to be there late on Sunday, in with a chance. I've never had that joy yet of playing on the back 9 with a chance to win the Masters, and I'd really love that so much.
Fleetwood tees off at 2:55 p.m. There's more at talkSPORT.com.
It's showtime on talkSPORT with BetMGM. We're ready for the action. Are you? Visit betmgm.co.uk or download the app. 18+. GambleAware.org.
It's that time. We're joined by our favourite fella at BetMGM, Sean Martin. We're going to look at some of the major events and the odds round and about them. Sean, good morning to you. Your beloved interim manager Martin O'Neill is going to be joining us in about 15 minutes. We're going to hear from him. Talk about the Champions League with me just now, what we've seen and what we're going to see in the Europa League tonight. Good morning, Sean.
Morning, lads. Whatever Martin says after this, I agree with. Just so you know. Right. Diego Simeone, you cannot write the guy off. I said yesterday he might go full Mourinho, take them back to Madrid. I didn't think he would get a 2-0 away win necessarily, but he did get that 2-0 away win at Barcelona. PSG won by the same scoreline at home to Liverpool. Anfield Classic probably required there now, you would think, in the return leg. Atletico's odds to win it have actually halved now. They were 20-1 before a ball was kicked Tuesday. They're now 10s. PSG and Bayern probably been the standout teams of the first legs. They're 11-4 and 9-4 respectively. But in all honesty, I do wonder if the fact that these first leg results have moved Barca to 16-1 and Real Madrid to 20-1 now make those two the big value shouts, because they've overcome much more difficult first legs than this before, I would say. In terms of European action tonight, there's obviously 3 more English sides playing their own quarterfinals. Europa League favourites Aston Villa 11-10 favourites to go in and win in Bologna. Nottingham Forest 13-5 underdogs to go and do the same away in Porto. And in the Conference League, Simon's Crystal Palace 3-5 favourites at home to Fiorentina, who have, to be fair to them, have made 3 semis and 2 finals in this in the past 3 editions of this competition, but are very, very vulnerable, I've got to say, just starting to stave off relegation fears in Serie A. Fiorentina, if you fancy all 3 English sides to pick up a win, it's 11-1. Well, it's just over 5-1 for both teams to score in all 3 of those games, Jim.
Sean, that's interesting. You think all English sides, if not win the competition, I mean, they both can't win the Europa League, Forest and Villa, but that one of them will, and that Palace should win the conference?
No, I think Palace, as performance has been in the European Conference, has been very patchy, and they've been fortuitous to get where they've got. So I think it's a very difficult game against Fiorentina. Interestingly, against Barcelona, what was the previous game that Barcelona played before they played Atletico in the Champions League? Away to Atletico. And what did they do? They beat them at Atletico. So the sending off was a massive part of that game. Now, Barcelona will take a lot of stock from the fact that they can go to Atletico and replicate what they've done previously, i.e. the game before, and still get back into this tie. As far as the European sides, well, look, I mean, it's going to be incredibly difficult for the English sides to win the Champions League, because you're looking at the forms of the Bayerns, of the PSGs of the world. But I still maintain the fact that Arsenal can beat anybody on their day. They only have to play one of them.
They might get a semi-final against Atletico Madrid.
And they can beat Atletico Madrid.
Yeah.
They've proven that they can beat Atletico Madrid.
Yeah.
So with all things being equal, I think Villa have got a fabulous chance of winning the Europa League. And I think Palace, if they can regain their poise and the manager can stop rattling his rattle, and then there's still a good chance if they can get past Fiorentina that they can do what I thought they would do at the beginning of the season, which is actually win this tournament.
Okay. Oliver Glasner, stop rattling your rattle.
5-2 favourites, Simon, to win the Conference League. Palace,
Are they? 5-2 favourites, okay. Fury Makhmudov, Ben Prograis, all coming our way on Saturday night. What are you thinking there, Sean?
I mean, the main kind of 4 fights, I think, are all pretty good. Fraser Clark, Justice Huni's on there, Jamie TKV, Richard Riakporhe, alongside the 2 main events. Not sure it's necessarily Tottenham Hotspur Stadium level, but it is still pretty good. Fury Makhmudov, obviously the main event, so to speak. Fury's first fight since back-to-back losses to Usyk, the last of which was December 2024. Hoping, kind of expecting a return to a less stationary Fury, I suppose is the way to put it. Makhmudov beat Dave Allen on points last time out, of course, and Fury's been saying he wants a knockout. He's 5-1 on just to win, and also odds on for a stoppage at 12-25. But for me, arguably anyway, I'm a bit more intrigued by the co-main event. Simon, Conor Benn versus Regis Prograis. Ben, obviously youth, engine, aggression, came down to 150 though after a couple of fights up at 160ish. Prograis, 37 now, I get it, skipping welterweight entirely to fight at this 150 catch weight, but I had a look a couple of weeks ago, and the money going into Ben and the hype around him has impacted the odds massively. Even since then, he's 16-1 on just to win the fight, first and foremost. A Ben stoppage wasn't too far off even money a couple of weeks back. It's now as short as 2-7. 1 or more knockdowns in the fight, again, wasn't far from evens. It's now 5-1 on. I know Prograis older. I know he's stepping up in weight. Not that that's necessarily a disadvantage. But Ben's he's not fought a guy of this calibre before, has he? And if he's in great shape, Prograis anywhere near his best, I'm not sure I can turn down odds of 9-1 for Prograis to win it, Simon.
I mean, the argument would be that Conor Benn's been the best matched fighter in the history of boxing, because he's been matched in such a way that he's accumulated huge amounts of resources and financial backing and support and opportunity, predominantly because of Eubank. But he's fought decent fighters. They've all been on the way down, whether it be Formello or Vargas or other people. Regis Prograis never fought above 142. The jump in at 150 is a situation where Conor is not fighting at 154 because he doesn't fancy what's in the 154 division with Boots Ennis and Josh Kelly and whoever else and Lewis, and he's not fighting at 147 because potentially he doesn't know if he can get there, even though he's saying it. At 150 all day, Conor Benn, all day. Conor Benn, not because Regis Prograis, I thought, was packing it in after his last defeat against Jack Catterall. He's had one fight since then. Obviously, he was a world-level fighter, but I think now what it is a massive piece of brilliant resume building, because Regis Prograis comes with a reputation, but it's not the same reputation befitting of the fighter that was once before, because all it really does is give Conor more cachet by beating fighters on paper that look like they're the real deal, but are on the other side of being the real deal.
I get you. I do get you. I agree. I was saying to the guys earlier on though, it's the size of the odds there. I'm going, if he's anywhere near it, he's 37, I get it, but if he's anywhere near his best self, he's fit.
He'll make it difficult.
Two-time world champion.
He'll make it
never
difficult.
been stopped.
Yeah, he might make it difficult for Conor, but I mean, I'm more actually. I'm looking at the other fights and thinking that Justice Hooney versus Fraser Clark is a fascinating fight for lots of different reasons. And of course, Jamie TKV, who always seems to get marginalised, and I've been guilty of doing it as well.
Right,
against Richard Riakporhe is also a fascinating fight.
You might be interested to hear. We're going to hear from Fraser Clark in the final hour today, and he was in something of a spiky mood.
Was he?
That is for sure. Yeah. Night 10 in Brighton of the BetMGM Premier League darts. What are you thinking, Sean?
Yeah, just very quickly, Jamie TKV, it's obviously his title he's defending. He's actually the underdog. He's 43-20.
Is he?
Richard Riakporhe's favourite, yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Fair enough. What about the darts?
The darts, sorry, night 10, and it's Dan Towse's home night because we're down at the Brighton Centre. 2-9 darters here last season from Luke Humphries and Rob Cross. It's 6-1 for one tonight and 6-1 for two for the second night, for the second year, in a row. Look like they're still top of the tree, but it was Gerwyn Price who won last week in Manchester. A series of genuinely brilliant performances to do so as well. Littler won the night in Brighton last season though, and he's a shade over even money to do it again tonight. He plays Stephen Bunting, Jim, in the quarters. Well, Luke Humphries starts it off 11-25 favourite against Johnny Clayton. Price faces Josh Rock, who, to be fair to him, has now won back-to-back quarter-finals, and probably the tie of the round for me is the last one, a Dutch derby between Van Gerwen and Van Veen, with the latter the marginal favourite, and what's actually their first meeting since way back on night one in Newcastle because of kind of injuries and illness to both in a couple of intervening nights. But it should be a cracker, lads, down in Brighton. It usually is.
Sorry about that, Sean. If you saw me waving to somebody, if you're watching on YouTube, I was waving to Spencer Oliver, who's in preparing for the boxing hour at 12 o'clock. I just see Spencer just... I can see his eyes just behind the
should be waving at the wardrobe department is what you should be waving at.
Ask him if he fancies 9-1 for a two-time world champion.
Yes, he does. Or at least from what I can see of him, he does. And the golf, the Masters, and I'm wearing something close to the jacket, but what do you think? Not the jacket, what do you think of the Masters?
Tees off about an hour from now. A couple of notable tee times for you. Tommy Fleetwood out at 5-3, Matt Fitzpatrick 307. He's in a cracking group with Bryson DeChambeau and Xander Schauffele. Rory 331, Ram and Rose both out after 6 p.m. Bob McIntyre, one of the last out, he's at 6:44 alongside Scotty Scheffler as well. Also, Danny's outside pick from yesterday, Jason Day, he tees off at 2:43 with Shane Lowry and Dustin Johnson. In terms of the betting, Aaron Rai won the par 3 contest yesterday. Probably means there's going to be a few staying away from backing him now, since the par 3 winners have never won the main tournament. And with that the start so soon, it would be remiss of me not to mention that BetMGM customers can still get a £1 free bet for every birdie or better the golfer they back to win the Masters makes in the first round, guys. T&Cs apply as always, and more info on the app and the website, Jim.
You're just too good to us. Who's going to win the Masters then, Sean?
I can't come on national radio and not say Big Bob McIntyre. Even if I backed someone else, I can't not say Bob.
Big Bob. My heart says Big Bob. My head says Rory. Who's going to win it?
Ben Crenshaw.
Ben Crenshaw, there you go. That's a bit of a stretch, but if Ben wins it, we've got a story in our hands. Visit betmgm.co.uk or download the app. 18 plus, be a gambleaware.org.
It's showtime on talkSPORT with BetMGM. Keep things golden with responsible play at betmgm.co.uk. 18 plus, gambleaware.org.
No, I think Gabby's spot on, Alan, to be honest. I think if you make that decision now, there's a danger that United don't finish in the top 5, don't get Champions League football.
Why? Because he relaxes, or because
the players take their foot off the gas?
It happens sometimes, doesn't it? It happens.
Well, that was going to be my next point. I think if you do make that decision, then there is a danger maybe the players relax and take their foot off the gas. Obviously, from what we're hearing from Ahmad and Brian and Boomer, they're the players that are very much behind Carrick. They would say that. They're not going to say anything different in a press conference environment. But there's some tough games to come. I'm going to be at Old Trafford on Monday. Leeds, the visitors, never an easy game. Obviously, a big rivalry between the two. They've still got to go to Chelsea, who they're competing with for the top 5. They've still got to host Liverpool, who are right up there in terms of the Champions League as well. Sunderland away has been a difficult trip for a lot of teams this season. And then Brighton away on the final day. So it's not a given yet that United finish in the top 5. So I think just keep their powder dry. What I would say is quite telling is that, as I understand it, they've not yet sounded out any potential alternatives for Michael Carrick. We're 6 weeks away from the end of the season. Obviously, plans are for the summer transfer, although Carrick has been a part of those conversations. So I think certainly he's in the box seat.
I think as well, there's even when they do give it him at the end of the season,
Got ourselves a title race up in Scotland, have we not? Hearts going after the title in Scotland, Rangers going after it, and Celtic in there scrapping away for the title as well. So the SPFL announced the post-split fixtures for the run-in, and all very interesting, but a bit of consternation, of course, amongst fans of certain clubs. For Hearts, Hibs away, Rangers at home, Motherwell away, Falkirk at home, and Celtic away. I'll get to that. Rangers have Motherwell at home, Hearts away, Celtic away. Hibs at home, Falkirk away. And then Celtic, Falkirk at home. That's up next. Hibs away, Rangers at home, Motherwell away, Hearts at home. Hearts at home. So Martin O'Neill's Celtic on the final day up against fellow title contenders, Heart of Midlothian. A short time ago, I spoke to Martin and I said to him, all right, so how do you see this title run-in, this title race run-in, especially with the way it's worked out in what has become a 3-team title race?
I think that our result against Dundee last week keeps us in it. Had we lost that game, I think, it would have been a long way back for us then if that was the case. But we're fighting strongly still at this minute. We have this split now where we play Rangers and Hearts, of course, and they play each other as well too. The other games are pretty difficult. We've got home to Falkirk, we're away at Hibs and we're away at Motherwell. And essentially those are the best teams in the SPL. So it's going to be exciting, I think. But for us, not just playing it down, but we're still playing catch-up.
Martin, lots of conspiracy theories that Celtic are at home on the last day of the season to Hearts. Now then, have you lucked out?
No, I don't know why that's the draw, and I think there was a reason generally speaking, when I was managing years and years before, the Celtic Rangers game was one that they wanted to play relatively early in proceedings. Now, I think that there's a reason why that can't happen, is that I think there's some sort of march taking place in Glasgow in the early part of the split. So the Rangers game fell into the middle. I think that was the reason, and then consequently the Hearts game would have fallen into the last match, I assume, or Hearts could have been the first game. That I don't know, but you'll have to ask the SPL.
For whatever reason, you have lucked out, though, haven't you? It's fallen in your... I mean, having said that, Martin, how damaging might the image be for you if Hearts lift the SPL trophy at Celtic Park?
Well, that can happen, absolutely. And you're saying about locking out. We might be out of contention by that time. One just never knows. That's the point. So the very fact that we had 3 games, because we have to have 19 homes and 19 aways, so the fact that we've got 3 games in the split, I think that's the only way they could have done it.
Who concerns you more, Hearts or Rangers?
Both.
I mean, you put them both at the same level in terms of the competition that they will provide in the run-in.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely, yes. Yeah, there's no distinction between the two of them. Very, very much so.
Are you relieved that you've got both of them at home?
That's obviously an advantage, something that you would rather have. Yeah, exactly. We had some difficult games in recent times at Ibrox. I know we got through on penalties in the Scottish Cup, and then we fought back brilliantly against them when they played us in the first half of the game in the league match, but we fought back 2-2. So, those sort of things that you can maybe fall back on and feel as if you've got some confidence going into home games.
Martin, I was thinking, if you were to go on and win this title with Celtic, would that rank as your greatest ever managerial achievement?
We are so far away from winning a title, so hypothetical things, that's a million miles away, honestly. And it's not me, I'm not honestly playing it down. So far away from that, there is home truth.
But do you fully believe you've got the players who can do it?
Of course, yeah. I mean, you'll need a bit of luck here and there, of course. In the Dundee game just last week, we created umpteen chances in the first half, got one of the goals, couldn't put the game to bed, and Dundee come roaring back in the second half, got the penalty, and the game's in the balance then after that, completely in the balance. So those are the type of games that will probably follow suit now, I think, in the next few weeks.
Are you enjoying it, Martin? Are you able to enjoy it?
Jim, I've told you so many times, I've never enjoyed management.
Only Martin O'Neill could finish a chat like that.
He loves management.
He does, doesn't he?
Couldn't wait to get back in. Interestingly, because obviously we were discussing the quirk of fate that's produced this outcome that Celtic have got home games against Rangers and Hearts, and this is a matter of fact because they played them away twice, so I understand it better than my original observations. The interesting thing for him is he could be either anointing, or he could anoint himself, he could anoint Rangers, or he could anoint Hearts on the last game of the season.
Right.
So it's a real double-edged sword for them because they've got the two rivals at home, which is a massive advantage, and obviously they've played them twice away in the regular campaign before the split, so it's just equalising that up.
Yeah.
But the fact is that at a key time they've got these two games, but at this time, which can actually decide the future of the Scottish Premier League, and either one of them could be decided at Celtic Park by either Celtic winning the league at that moment, beating Hearts and Rangers winning the league, or Hearts beating them and Hearts winning the league.
Yeah. Exactly.
So he's in this invidious position of having all 3 options, and even if they're out of contention, which is what he was talking about potentially, they could still be the gatekeeper for one of the others.
That's right.
And which is the lesser evil?
Yeah.
Allowing Rangers to win by letting Hearts, Rangers not to win by letting Hearts. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
they're not going to let anybody win.
Once all the post-split fixtures were announced, though, Simon, there was all sorts of allegations up there. Conspiracy theorists
but it can't be.
were out in force. Well, the reason they were is that the fixtures, the post-split fixtures, aren't computer generated. They're not done with any technology in mind. It's the SPFL who decide who plays who in consultation with the police and the broadcasters.
But I tell you what.
And then, of course, the final day, Hearts are at Celtic Park?
Well, they probably
conspiracy.
They probably didn't want Rangers at Celtic Park on the last game of the season, given the circumstances of the last set meeting between the two football clubs.
Yeah.
If there was any interjection as to when these games should be played, probably from a spectacle point of view, having Hearts and Celtic play at the last game of the season would probably be a broadcasting bonanza to some extent, because if Hearts are in the box seat to change the direction of travel for the Scottish Premier League for the first time in 40 years, you want that game, wouldn't you?
Yeah, of course.
So there's probably that stuff going on. But listen, it makes it interesting. It makes it, part and parcel of the actual value of the Scottish Premier League is that now we've got, in this instance, for the first time, a legitimate challenger.
Yeah.
And I think most neutrals want them to win.
Yeah.
Martin, if he was being honest, I think he would say, and he won't be honest because it has ramifications. If he wins a league with this ragtag and bobtail lot, he'll have worked the oracle, and he knows he will have done.
Yeah. And he knows
it will be not because his previous achievements haven't been remarkable, because they have been.
Yeah.
But this lot, pulling them together in a season of chaos, with owners lambasting Brendan Rodgers for his nonsense, bringing in a guy that was clearly not up for it, putting Martin in the middle, then bringing him back, and all the chaos that's gone on.
Shenanigans at Ibrox.
Totally. If they had to come out of this, then Martin will have done lots of very good things, which will enhance his reputation to be able to leave behind him the career that he so obviously dislikes.
And that career that he obviously dislikes, say he wins it, what's it do for his stock?
Well, I think his stock's high anyway. And I remember saying in the studio to him, what are you hiding your light behind a bushel for? Did you want to go back to Celtic? Did you want to stay there? Did you feel that Wilfred Nancy, that wasn't confirmed being brought in, was a little bit of something that you could have done? He said, well, yeah. I said, why don't you say something? He said, well, now that you've gone in there and everyone thinks you walk on water, put yourself in the hat for other jobs. Fortunately, it came back round again, didn't it? And Celtic came back round.
Right.
And so here he is now. It's up to him. He's got bags of energy.
Yeah.
He loves doing it. And he should be involved because he's a font of knowledge. Now, he should be involved in football.
Yeah.
Now, not just sitting there with the clown college at the League Managers Association. He should be actively involved in the thinking of football clubs because he's got an absolute lexicon of knowledge.
A lexicon of knowledge. I love that one. Say he wins it. Does Dermot Desmond have a big decision to make? Celtic win the title.
Well, he has a nice decision to make.
Into next season.
Well, he has to make a better decision than the ones they made previously, whoever made it for Dermot.
Yeah.
The decision around Wilfred Nancy. I mean, I sat in the studio and said to you, that ain't going to work. Now, it didn't work. So, with due respect, you have to wonder what the decision-making process was.
Yeah.
Now, Martin gives them a nice problem. Win the league. They probably need a bloody nose. They probably actually need a bloody nose. With all due respect to my admiration for Dermot Desmond, they probably need a bloody nose. And that means finishing third. That means finishing behind Hearts and Rangers, because it will then perhaps re-centre their thinking about what do we need to do with this football club.
Yeah.
Because we've gotten away with it. We've had little opposition over the years, and actually we've managed to get away with it by doing just enough to win the leagues.
Yeah. Imagine being us at this particular time in the proceedings. This is when we call upon Spencer Oliver for the final hour, and we'll talk boxing. Yes, we will. It's 12 noon. The bottom line is, if it's good enough for Real Madrid, and it was good enough for Klopp, how's it not good enough for Tuchel?
How much? I mean, Madrid are not a good side this season.
No.
And are not going to win very much this season, are they? And Thomas Tuchel's got one opportunity to win something. And so he's got a limited amount of time to do it. And Klopp didn't win the things that people suggested he could have won. Whilst he's got a huge reputation on Merseyside and well-deserved, and his brand of football was fabulous to watch, the actual trophy haul was somewhat less significant than perhaps the reputation has been able to be steeped upon. And that's not a criticism, it's just a simple statement of fact. If you're getting into this tournament and you require Trent Alexander-Arnold to get past Ghana, to get past a weak Croatia side, and to get past Panama, then there's something fundamentally wrong, full stop. Not suggesting that he can't do the things that you ask him to do. I think you can beat those teams without Trent Alexander-Arnold. It's when it comes to the tide, when you start playing against the teams that historically have caused us problems. And if you put Trent Alexander-Arnold on that side and ask him to defend, he's going to get done. And Tuchel doesn't want that, I suspect. And whilst it's okay, you can overcompensate for it and you can shift people across and start to cover for Trent. You start to balance the side to achieve that. So it's not about Trent being in the 35, which he probably could and should be, because there's no reason for him not to be, really. But you start chucking him in against games against Ghana, then you'll have this massive press reaction to the fact if he doesn't play against a side where Tuchel thinks we need to defend better. I think it's great that Trent can hit a winning ball. But we talk whenever we haven't got something. We always talk whenever we see something. We always talk about what we haven't got. Players get better when they're not playing. So when put Trent Alexander in the England side, and the England side plays a poor game, and he plays a poor one too, which he has done when he's played for England. He hasn't been earth-shattering when he's played for England. So I'm not really in the camp saying.
talkSPORT Sports Update powered by the Nissan Van Range. Commercial vehicles built around your business. Search Nissan Vans or head to your local Nissan Van Centre.
With your latest sports headlines at lunchtime, I'm Matt Hutchinson. Good afternoon. After Arne Slot said Liverpool were in survival mode and lucky to still be in their Champions League tie with PSG, we've asked Simon Jordan if the Dutchman knows he's gone.
There's a part of me that thinks that. I mean, obviously, I read between the lines and hear journalists talking about the fact that Liverpool's ownership are not entertaining that idea at this moment in time and wanting to see, to maintain the support of him because of the credit in the bank that he's got for last year.
Well, Liverpool are 2-0 down ahead of the quarter-final second leg live on talkSPORT next Tuesday. And our very own Adrian Durham is doubting whether Anfield is ready to give Slot the atmosphere he needs.
Less than a year since they won the title, but the connection is gone because they don't approve of the football, the style that's being played by Arne Slot's Liverpool. And the players, some of them were brilliant, but they're not anymore.
Well, north of the border now, Celtic have an advantage of playing 4 of their last 6 Premiership games at home, but interim boss Martin O'Neill has dismissed the idea they've got a favourable draw.
We are so far away from winning a title, so hypothetical things, that's a million miles away, honestly. And it's not me, I'm not honestly playing it down. So far away from that, there is some truth.
Last year's Grand National winner Nick Rockett has pulled out of this year's race with a cough. First reserve Pied Piper will take his place. The Grand National is live on talkSPORT on Saturday afternoon. And some surprising F1 news. Max Verstappen is losing his engineer at Red Bull. Jean-Pierre Lambiase will become McLaren's head of engineering from 2028. Verstappen has already said he's beyond frustrated with the new regulations this season.
talkSPORT News.
Oil prices have spiked again as uncertainty continues over the ceasefire in Iran, and 2 men and 2 women have died after trying to cross the channel in a small boat. More news with Amelia in half an hour.
talkSPORT weather with QuickFit. Our expert technicians can't do your spring cleaning, but they can keep your car's inbuilt safety tech in top nick. Visit quickfit.com and book today.
We're expecting this afternoon to be cooler and breezier with cloudy skies and some rain moving eastwards across England. A mix of sunny spells, cloud and the odd shower elsewhere.
That's engagement. Jim White and Simon Jordan on talkSPORT.
He's the current undefeated super bantamweight champion of the Europe, making his 4th defense. Would you please welcome from Barnet, where he is known as the Spencer.
It's that time, isn't it? 5 minutes past 12 noon at Thursday lunchtime. In he struts with a swagger that we've grown to love and know. Spencer Oliver is in our midst this lunchtime. Spencer, good afternoon to you.
Jim, Simon, how are we both doing?
Very well. Very well.
Very interesting jacket you've got on there, Jim.
What is it about this jacket? This was a jacket
looks like you've mugged a homeless person.
That's a final insult. There's one thing being insulted by Lord Jordan. When it comes to pint-sized Oliver, who's due a slap in the next commercial break, I shall soldier on with my dignity intact. Spencer, good afternoon. Good afternoon to you. I noticed you haven't put that jacket back on. You've kept yours over the back.
I don't want to wear a jacket if you're going to wear that one next.
Thank you so much. I was going to do the big sell on the fight, so let's do the big sell on the fight. Tyson Fury returns from retirement this Saturday night after a 15-month absence to face Arslanbek Makhmudov at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. It's live on Netflix.
I'm the best British heavyweight there's ever been.
I thought that you were done. I came back for one reason only, and that's to make boxing great again.
I hustle, I flex, the world is mine.
Boxing is the only thing that gives me purpose. I have to fight somebody dangerous.
That is the power of Mahmoud. Oh, big shot.
I'm looking forward to punching his face right in.
That's nice. So in he goes against Arslanbek Makhmudov. Spencer, it's another big fight week here in the UK. But have you known there to be a quieter one?
Yeah, there's. I thought there'd be more interest, if I'm totally honest, with Tyson Fury coming back, being a dominant force over the last decade or so. Arslanbek Makhmudov is a decent opponent that could ask him questions going into this. So, yeah, maybe I thought there would have been more interest than there is so far, but there's still time. Conor Ben Regis Prograis on the card as well creates a lot more interest, whether you think that's for the right or wrong reasons. So, yeah, I'm quite surprised that it's not caught fire the way that it should have yet.
We've heard stories of ticket sales being somewhat sluggish, Simon. Where does the Tyson Fury buzz?
Well, like we said earlier on, is it because we're not involved? We don't speak to Tyson and his camp, so that ultimately we're a little bit disconnected? Is it because it's on Netflix and Netflix has its own environment where it operates in? I mean, is there a press conference today?
Yeah, we're at the press conference today from 6 p.m.
You'll see today, won't you? You'll see how the noise reverberates. I mean, I've seen a lot of coverage on Sky and saw Tyson Fury talking to Sky about the situation, circumstances. But this idea, I mean, that Tyson needs to come back to make boxing great again is a load of old nonsense, because it's thriving very well. Of course, having personalities and charismatic personalities like Tyson Fury back in the mix will enhance the brew. But boxing is in a very good space right now. There's lots of noise and lots of interest and lots of intrigue and lots of great fighters having great fights. We've got new people in the camp like Moses Atoma, where all the energy is going into what Moses is doing. So there's a raft of other things that are equally as compelling. But Tyson coming back is always going to add some value to the equation, but it doesn't need him to make boxing great again. And that's just him, you know, like he said when he sat in Saudi, that he shouldn't have to pay tax in this country because he's done so much for the country. You know, these are just things that Fury does to self-promote.
Yeah. And to be fair, Jim, we was at the media day yesterday and there was a lot of media. There was a buzz around that day. So I think that it may be kicking off really just from now. The interest sort of like kicking off from now. It's been a busy old month really for the boxing. It's like, so yeah. I think week by week, you know, that's where the interest comes.
In terms of a matchup, what is Makhmudov to Fury?
He's a tough guy, very tough guy. You know, he's one of those very dangerous, big, very heavy-handed, 19 of his 22 inside the distance. Beat Dave Allen last time out, but we're talking about levels to the game here. You know, Ajit Caballel, you know, he was found out against Caballel, was expected to win that fight, went in there, got knocked out himself in 4 rounds, has lost since then as well. So it's an interesting fight because I think for Tyson Fury at this stage of his game with the, you know, inactivity, retiring after the Usyk defeats, coming back again, you go like 36, 37 years of age that he is now, you go, you know, unless he's at his best, he, you know, it could be a problem. So,
right.
Yeah, it's an interesting
So only if
fight.
he's at his best, Spencer, might he stand a chance of enhancing his standing.
Maybe not at his best, but he has to be somewhere there or thereabouts. And I think that Tyson Fury's picked Makhmudov to test himself, to see if he does belong still at that level. You know, I think it's a credible opponent for Fury at this stage for sure.
Do you believe it's a credible opponent?
Oh, very much so. A credible opponent in terms of giving him a slight test, but 60% of Tyson Fury beats this guy all day.
That's fair.
And we saw him get whittled. I mean, once upon a time he was a beast, and people were, you know, not just by the way he looks, but in terms of his in-ring performance. But Ajit Caballel dispelled all that, whittled him down, and since then he's not been the same in terms of people's perception of him. Dave Allen, with due respect, although Dave Allen is talking a wonderful game about what he's going to do to Filip Hrgovic. Now, whether Dave thinks about the opportunity that he didn't take against Makhmudov and will take against Hrgovic, because Hrgovic is considered a world-level operator.
Spencer, I've got to say, quite a lot of fight fans get in touch, as you do while we're on air. It's great, 81089. Spencer, what you're talking about, Makhmudov is a heavy bag on legs. Nothing more than that.
Sort of disagree with that, unfortunately. That person's clearly never boxed before. Yeah, no, he's a little bit more than that. He's a little bit more of a test than a heavy bag on legs. Trust me on that one. You know, Vianello was the only other guy to stop him. That was in eight rounds. But since then, he's won a couple of fights. He's big. He's a big guy. He's heavy-handed, and he can fight. You know, whether you like it or whether you don't like it. For Tyson Fury, as a comeback fight, it's a decent fight. I agree with Simon.
Yeah.
60% of the old Fury does beat him. but we don't know what's there, do we? And Tyson Fury may not know what's there either. It's all right training and, performing well in training, but when the bell rings, it's a different story. It's a different game.
Well, I agree with Simon in that boxing has been in no way dull in the absence of Tyson Fury. Tyson Fury is back. He's been in conversation with Mike Coppinger of Inside Ring, and he spoke with, of course, the likes of Chisora and Wilder coming back. Did that feature in his mind that maybe he should come back?
By the time the fight comes around on Saturday, I'll have been out the ring 16 months, and that 37-year-old, 16 months is a long time. So I have a little bit of stuff to do and to think about in my own mind and see how I am. After watching Deontay and Chisora the other night fight, it was hard to watch for me. It was sad. It was heartbreaking. And I'd never seen two men slide as much as them two in my life. And I'm thinking, am I next? Is this me? So I said to the boys, if I'm even 10% as bad as those guys in my fight, take me out to the field and shoot me.
What kind of danger does Makhmudov present to Tyson?
He's heavy-handed. If Tyson's there and he gets tagged early, then it's a big problem. Like Tyson's saying there, look, he's going in there now. Like that era, that generation of boxers, they are all deteriorating. We did see that with Derek Chisora and Deontay Wilder. That they were shells of their former selves, really. It was a good fight, an entertaining fight, because they were both at that level. It was a well-matched contest. But like Fury says, am I next? Because you don't really know at this stage of the game. The wheels can come off at any point.
In all honesty, Spencer, and the messages are coming in, and they're coming in big numbers, all saying Makhmudov doesn't stand a chance.
Yeah.
What we're going to see?
We should see a Tyson Fury victory, and should see quite a convincing victory. We should. But that's where the stage of the game, and that's why the intrigue's there, because we're at that stage of the game where you go, Tyson Fury's been out a while now. He's been known not to live the particularly good life when he's there, when he's not in training. He's not training at all. He's putting on weight. He's got to come back down again. That takes a toll on his body. Yeah. So we just don't know what Tyson Fury are going to get, and that is the interest in this one. A prime Tyson Fury against a prime Makhmudov is a no contest. Tyson Fury steamrolls him.
Right.
But
it's what it might lead to, Simon, I think. Fury spoke about a future fight with Joshua, and he says, if everything goes well in this fight on Saturday night against Makhmudov, then that's a fight we're all looking to make next.
Well, it's interesting because he, as he says, and he said in an interview yesterday, and that's brilliant Tyson Fury. That's funny and it's humorous and it's self-effacing, and that's the Tyson Fury that I admire and like and met in the changing room at Wembley when he fought Dillian White back in the day. The other boorish Tyson Fury I can do without. What it leads to, well, look, he tells you regularly that he's got so much money, and if you look at his accounts, he's got a couple of £100 million, so he doesn't need to be coming back for money. So fighting Anthony Joshua, does it square a circle, or does he want to win a world title again? It all depends what this enigma tells you he wants to do. He'll tell, because he wants to create noise and content, and one thing that Tyson Fury can't bear being is not part of a conversation. Mm-hmm. So he'll keep on throwing out these shades and telling people what he's going to do and what he's not going to do. But the fact of the matter is, he deals with Makhmudov, and then on the back of that, we'll know where Fury really is. And I think he'll deal with Makhmudov compellingly and convincingly. He's had playoffs before. I know he's 37. I know that he's coming off the back of a debilitating defeat in his mind to Alexander Usyk that he suggests he won, and everyone knows he didn't. All right, besides Frank and him. But the fact of the matter is that he comes back in with a history of having long layoffs and then coming back in and surprising everybody. He'll come back in. He will know in training whether he's still got the snap, and he will have the snap to deal with Makhmudov.
Okay, and that he'll come out of it looking impressive. Yeah, and not like a shadow of himself, maybe like Chisora and Wilder might have been argued to have done. Yeah,
and I think that where Tyson Fury's mindset is right now is, I think he's coming out to square the circle. I think it is the Anthony Joshua fight that he wants. It's about these eras and fighting. It's a fight that we'd like to see. I think he wants that fight more than winning a world title again.
Okay, after this short break, former WBO cruiserweight champion turned pundit Johnny Nelson will be joining us live in the show.
Let's go to Jay. He's an Arsenal fan. All right, Jay?
All right, Jay.
How you doing, lads?
All right, matey.
I'm all right, Jay. You happy?
Yeah. No, I'm not, mate. No, not really. That was absolutely diabolical. Where was Martinelli tonight? Where was he?
What do you mean? You just got one of the best assists of the season.
Oh, lovely. Yeah, Sporting Lisbon. Yeah, we're flying, aren't we, lads? Do you know what happened? Me and me boy. Listen, me and me boy.
Final of the Champions League. 1-0.
Me and me boy. I mean, mate that I work with, he's a Tottenham fan, right? So we've got a Tottenham fan in between us. We got the 68 minutes. We were all yawning.
No, it's a tough one.
Literally yawning. So listen, we flicked over to the Real Madrid game with Bayern Munich. Oh my days!
Hold on. You turned over.
Too right, mate. Why not do that,
you
Jamie?
turned over at Champions League quarter-final watching your team. You turned over and watched Real Madrid.
What do you want me to do? Go to bed at like 9:20, mate? Like,
that's an absolute disgrace. Jay, you're a disgrace. I'm sorry.
That is poor, mate.
That's
really?
shocking.
Why are you
You're not
saying
watching
that?
your own team.
Listen, I wanted to watch football tonight, so I had
You're
to
an
go
Arsenal
over to
fan.
Real Madrid and Bayern Munich to actually see a bit of football, lads. And what is all this all about? It's all about Arteta, isn't it? We're all crumbling. You know, the Carabao Cup, the FA Cup, we've gone. And then tonight was the night that we went out to Lisbon, right, and we put a foot down and we showed that we want to win the Champions League. We're up, mate, nothing tonight. Absolutely
1-0.
68 minutes. Oh, Jamie, come on, bruv.
We're talking boxing live on talkSPORT, also live on your YouTube channel, wherever you want to watch the show. You can watch us live on your telly, even Prime Video. It's Jim White, Simon Jordan, and Spencer Oliver. We're talking about Tyson Fury returning from retirement this Saturday night to face Arslanbek Makhmudov at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. Former WBO cruiserweight champion and top boxing pundit Johnny Nelson is going to be on duty that night. Johnny will be alongside Little Spencer and Adam Cattrall, providing talkSPORT coverage via a watch-along of Fury Makhmudov on the YouTube channel. That is then and this is now. And now Johnny Nelson joins us live. Johnny, good afternoon to you.
Good afternoon. There's not very much little about Spencer, so I look forward to Saturday night. We'll have a good time.
I'm looking forward to seeing you in action as well, Johnny. What do you make of this? I mean, I said to Spencer and Simon at the top of the hour, it's another big fight week, Johnny, or is it? I mean, it's a quiet one. Have you known a quieter one?
Maybe. I'm just playing devil's advocate. Maybe because John's not in the mix, but it's quiet because I don't know. The question marks are there. John has let a few cats out of the bag in regards to what's been going on in training camp and where he thinks his son is. Tyson's been relatively a bit subdued, if I'd say so. And this fight, it's basically looking at Tyson where he's at. We know about Makhmoudov. We know when he boxed Dave Allen. We know what kind of fight he is. So we just need to find out what kind of fighter Dave Allen is. Does this fight make you sit at the edge of your seats and think, I've got to see this? Not really, no. It's about the curiosity of where Tyson is right now in his career.
Johnny, where do you think exactly Tyson Fury is right now? Do you think that he's still got anything left? Do you think that we will see that on Saturday night?
Spenny, you know what? I think this version of Tyson beats 80% of the fighters out there. I think his dad got it down to a T, and his dad has been villainized by everybody. Because of the way he sends the message out. I think the stuff you got out of him in the interview was brilliant. It was honest. It was crude at times. But his dad, I'll say how it is. His dad knows boxing. Might be a bit of a cojones sometimes, but he knows boxing, and he knows his son, and he knows what his son's capable of. So he knows his son is no longer capable of the things he did. So it's not until you see it, until the milk spill, that you think, oh yeah. So and they're trying to shut him down. I think with Tyson, he probably knows that as well. At this stage in his career, he's still a character. He still can make noise. He's still the one people talk about. You've seen Wilder's kind of now shown his colours to say, you know what, you're out of the mix. The danger of you's gone. Tyson is still that mystery of him to see if, are you still a danger? Are we to believe you that you can do it again? You've retired 4 or 5 times. You've said, you never lost to Usyk twice over. So these are all question marks that we're waiting to see what version of Tyson turns up.
And Johnny, let's talk about his opponent, Arslanbek Makhmoudov. How much of a threat do you think that he poses? And could he be a danger?
He shouldn't be. I think Makhmoudov is unbelievably fit and he's strong. He's a big unit, and Tyson knows that. But I also think Tyson will be unbelievably fit. He's been out in Thailand for 10 weeks, training out there. My sources tell me that his fitness is off the scale, but it's not just about that. If you haven't got the legs, if you haven't got the time in hand-foot coordination, then it's going to show in the ring. And he's going to need to be fit against Makhmoudov, because Makhmoudov is a tough man. Dave Allen's no pushover. He makes you work for your lunch. And so therefore, if he managed to handle Dave Allen and out-muscle Dave Allen, out-gear Dave Allen, Tyson Fury's boxing ability are the things that will win him this fight, not his power and prowess, because he's up against someone that's as tall, that's as big, that's aggressive, that'll walk onto him. His boxing ability should get the job done. If he lacks in fitness, then he'll get exposed.
When you look at Tyson Fury, and in your mind's eye, Johnny, you talked about the fact it'd be 80% of fighters out there, which potentially might include Ajit Kabiel. Ajit Kabiel whittled Makhmoudov down. So when you look at that comparison, why would you not think that potentially Tyson Fury will no doubt whittle Makhmoudov down to what he was in the fight against Ajit Kabiel?
That's the question. These are the question marks about Makhmoudov, about Tyson, because we know what he's capable of doing. We know what sort of fighter he is, but it's what he's got left. The technical stuff, you can't pretend to have that. He's a technically on-point fighter. He understands it. The wisdom he's got, the text and boxing abilities he's got. It's now age and fitness and his legs. We want to see if he's still got them.
But why wouldn't he have it, Johnny? I mean, did we see anything in the Usyk fight besides the fact that Usyk was technically a better opposition than he's been in against? Did we see anything in that fight that gave us cause to believe that Tyson Fury isn't still at a level that would sail past the Makhmoudovs of the world?
Well, for me, in my eyes, a lot of times you saw Tyson falling back on his heels. A lot of times you saw Tyson. I thought, your legs are no longer there. Your boxing IQ has got you through the 12 rounds both times and up against an amazing fight, which shows how technically outstanding you are. But your legs have gone. They're not there. The legs what you had are gone. His dad was spot on. And now you look at his fight. Look, when he's falling back on his heels, look at how he's moving around the ring. And you just look at his last 3 fights. Look at his footwork. You see for yourself. You don't need his own man to tell you. And so that's why I say he's going to depend on the wisdom and the boxing technique he has to win the future fights going forward.
Johnny, what percentage of the old Tyson Fury do we need to see for him to get victory on Saturday night?
As I said, I think 80% beats Makhmoudov. 80%, the 80% of
60% not enough?
No, the 80% beats Makhmoudov because, if he's not fit, Makhmoudov gets him. If he has to be fit, and the rest is done. He's got the experience. He's worn the T-shirt. He's done everything expected of him. So I expect Tyson Fury to get the job done. I don't see there being a danger there, unless he's really, really deteriorated.
Do you see that a different style of Tyson fighting? We saw, I mean, I know I don't want to compare eras, but we saw Ali change in the 70s from being a fighter that moved to a fighter that stood and fought in a different way. Isn't there a possibility that Fury, given what you've just said and the movement that he potentially doesn't have, would fight a different way and still be effective in being able to do that, given the competency that he has?
Well, what way can he fight? So Tyson Fury, he's tall, he's got a long range, and that's always been a great advantage for him, whoever he's boxed. And that brain, that knowledge he's got, has always been one step ahead. He can't turn into a slugger. He can't turn into a front foot fighter, because he's not that kind of guy. Great counter puncher, great on the end of a jab. If he's going to get into war, that fight's gone. That fight went way back with Wilder. That fight's gone in him, and we saw the rest of it rinsed out when he boxed Usyk. That's gone. So now he's got to depend on all the knowledge that he has. He can't be any other kind of fighter.
And this is my argument with Makhmoudov, that you can't, as limited as you may feel that he is, you can't sit in the pocket with him and give him that opportunity to get off with those shots. And that's where Tyson Fury, if we're talking about changing, adjusting styles, and he wants to take the fight to Makhmoudov, then he makes it a very hard night for himself.
For sure. Johnny, we can't have you on as a former cruiserweight champion and not talk briefly about the cruiserweight division. What did you make of what's going on with the likes of Jai Opetaia, whose ambitions to unify Luke's have been all but scuppered as he's joined Zuffa?
You know what? So the governing bodies, they are in danger of being completely ignored, because when you know who's the best, you know who's the best, no matter who they say, who they stick their belt around the waist of. And Jai Opetaia, they can try and ignore him, but then the people speak, the people see for themselves. Jai Opetaia's the best one out there. So no matter what they try and do to shut him out, to say, well, you're not having our belt, it's them that are losing credibility. It's the governing bodies that are saying, that are making themselves look bad. I don't understand what the game plan is with Opetaia for, moving with Zuffa. Great move. Does he believe in the Zuffa idea, plan? He must do, and it's got to start somewhere. He just wants to fight. That's one thing I like about him. He just wants to fight the best. And if you give him that option, he doesn't care about the belts, because he's one of the few fighters that doesn't have to care about the belts. He's the best.
I was with Mick Francis actually at the media day yesterday, and he was talking about this situation, and he does want to be undisputed champion. He said that Zuffa Boxing are in conversations about working in with the governing bodies. Yeah. He was very upset that he'd been stripped of that title, and he wants to get it back. So his focus is still very much on becoming undisputed champion.
Johnny, for the moment, thank you very much. Johnny Nelson with us this lunchtime. Johnny will be alongside Spencer and Adam Castro when Fury goes in on Saturday night, providing talkSPORT coverage via a watch-along of Fury Makhmoudov on the YouTube channel at half 12.
I mean, I know you want to be diplomatic and you'll maybe tiptoe around a bit. Would you have gone in for the Tottenham job? Would you have taken it? Given what we've seen, we've watched Tottenham and everyone's sort of dancing around it.
You just mentioned something there, and this would be more important to me, and obviously the career I've had, it does pay well. I wouldn't go in there. I wouldn't look in for money. They could offer me a massive amount of money. I'm sure they're capable of it, and I'm sure, well, allegedly, they've offered De Zerbi a massive amount of money.
It would have been about
No, it'd have been about what you're going to gain me as a human being. What would I gain, right? You go in there, you get the job done. 6 games into last next season. If you're not in the top 4 and the football's not what they want, rubbish, get them out. So you're not going to gain a lot there, are you? So then, and that's if you get the job done, because it's not easy. and then you don't get the job done, and then somehow it's on my neck that I took Tottenham down. You go, well, that ain't good for me as a human. This is not even about football. I'm going, well, that ain't good, is it?
What do you reckon?
You know what I mean? So I go, and then you get some money, and I go, well, I'm not thirsty for that. I've got some money, so how much do you want?
You know the dynamic of the industry. We all know the two biggest commodities in football are talent and gossip, right? Or money and gossip. money and gossip, right? You must have
sad, isn't it, if it's an equal measure. Money and gossip beats talent.
Money and gossip was what I meant. Money and gossip, right? What do you think is wrong with Tottenham?
Well, I mean, I find it I find it really interesting from the outside. I know Thomas, and if I was a Tottenham fan, and I know a few, I thought the manager was getting a hell of a lot of heat and weight on that. And if I was Tottenham, I'd be looking at some of the players. Me personally, I'd be going, hang on a minute, look at all this money they've spent. And money doesn't guarantee anything, by the way. It's another myth about football, but it gives you a better chance. And you're going, right, so spend this money. Look at these players. Allegedly, I keep hearing this, and I don't Forest, all these talented players. Talent is when you deliver. You can be telling if you're not delivering, that ain't talent.
Arne Slot admits Liverpool are lucky to be 2 goals down in their Champions League quarter-final with PSG. He's explained why he went with 5 at the back.
I thought we could try to press them really high and aggressive because Jeremy and Milos are also 2 players. If you press Hakimi and if you press Nuno Mendes, they play and they start to run.
Slot says Liverpool are in survival mode right now. Jamie O'Hara told Jason Cundy they should get Stevie G in before the second leg.
Could you imagine the atmosphere next week? Steven Gerrard walking the team out.
I can only imagine what that would feel like for a Liverpool fan. The hope and the belief would go through the roof.
Meanwhile, we're told never mind the 82 million quid Man City should have kept Julian Alvarez.
He's probably not been at his absolute best compared to last year this year, but still stepping up in that moment to score a free kick of that quality at the Camp Nou. It was Messi-esque, but of course right-footed.
And one of just 3 back-to-back Masters winners, Sir Nick Faldo, reckons Rory McIlroy can go for a second career slam, but says he needs an emotional reset ahead of his Masters defence. England's Tommy Fleetwood is dreaming of his first win.
I would love to be there late on Sunday, in with a chance. I've never had that joy yet of playing on the back nine with a chance to win the Masters, and I'd really love that so much.
Fleetwood tees off at 2:55 p.m. There's more at talksport.com.
Boxing update on talkSPORT with DAZN, the global home of boxing. Sign up now at dazn.com/boxing.
Now get ready for back-to-back boxing next weekend on DAZN. Friday, April the 17th, rivalry reignites as Nathaniel Collins and Cristobal Laurenti meet again after their controversial draw in Scotland. Then on Saturday, April the 18th, it's showtime. Ben Whittaker looks to light it up in Liverpool. He faces Brian Suarez. Join DAZN Ultimate right now and get 12 plus fights, pay-per-views a year, including Fabio Wardley, Daniel Dubois, at no extra cost. We're talking about Tyson Fury coming back after a 15-month absence to face Makhmudov at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium on Saturday night. Also on the undercard of that, Fraser Clark goes in against Justus Huni. And that is a fight in itself. But I wonder what kind of Fraser Clark's going in against Justus Huni. Huni was on the show just the other day. Because Fraser, reputationally, after 2 defeats in his last 3 fights, there's a great deal on the line for Fraser. I'm going to get Spencer's view and Simon's view in a second. But remember, it was Spencer who was in conversation with Fraser yesterday, and it was a pretty spiky, prickly Fraser Clark.
Listen, let's gate crash that world stage. Why not?
Yeah.
Why not? Do you know what I mean?
What a headline! Let's gate crash that world stage.
100%. You know, and what you remember is we're in the heavyweight division with 2 fighters, and I'm not. If anyone thinks that they're ever going to see Fraser Clark turn up in a boxing ring and just try and compete or do a bit or just be there to pick up a paycheck, you're out of your mind. You're off your rocker. The person I am, the way I was brought up, you fight to win. And that's simple as that. There's a dog in me, and listen, what people say, and they can see what they've seen. I'm not falling over for no one. I'm not just showing up to take part. If he thinks he's coming here, and I see there's a lot of people here, a lot of Aussies here, and you know he's team Fury, and he's with all the guys and that. If they think they pick someone that's just going to fall over and not come and have a fight, mate, they pick the wrong person, because I'll be fighting him for every second of every round. If he is not prepared properly, he's
Wow, that doesn't sound like the Fraser Clark I know and love.
It's not the Fraser Clark I know and love either. It's not the guy that we've seen in the past. We know fight weeks here. The reality's on the line, that Fraser Clark's career's on the line. That's where we're at here, because he's lost at that level now a couple of times. Last time out against Jamie TKV. And it'll be, where's the ambition? Where does he really want to compete? Because if he loses to Justice Hooney, then, you know, he's got to have them conversations with himself. So I understand it. But Fraser, like, you know, he said that him being the underdog and the way people are just writing him off, that's what's got his back up. And I like that side of it, to be fair. I think that he needed that, because I go, Fraser, you need to deliver here, mate. Yeah. You have to go, like, we need to see more than what we've seen in the past. You know, it's no good competing. We need to see you winning these fights.
Simon, I want to concentrate on the undercard itself, because it's got plenty of intrigue in it on Saturday night. Not least Conor Bren, Regis Prograis, not least Jamie TKV against Richard Riakporhe. I'm delighted to say joining us live is top trainer Ben Davidson. And Ben, as I understand it, you've had Jamie TKV working out in your gym. How is he looking? Good afternoon, Ben.
Afternoon. No, he's all good. Like you say, he trains with Barry in my gym. Well prepared, British champion, and he wants to make sure he goes home with a British title still.
It's tough defence, isn't it, against Richard Riakporhe? There's a little bit of the unknown going into this heavyweight division, Riakporhe, but we saw him against Tommy Welch last time out, won that one in 2 rounds, looked impressive in doing so. So it's a tough fight, isn't it?
Yeah, but I think Jamie's a tough British title fighter as well. So I think there's a big jump up in class. Jamie had a good victory against, you know, I saw you there talking about Fraser. Jamie had a win at a decent level, former stablemate of Richard as well. So he'll know, you know, how good Jamie is to be doing what he done with Fraser in there. And, you know, it's Jamie knows what he needs to do. And it's a case of Richard will have to come and put on a big performance if he was to leave with a British title. But we're confident that Jamie will remain British champion.
Ben, have you seen a different mentality in Jamie now that he's the champ and he's no longer the underdog?
No, not really. I think he's a hard worker, Jamie. What you see is what you get. He's a grafter. He's not an easy night's work for anybody. He's always jumped in and sparred with, you know, some of all the top heavyweights that I've worked with. He's always been game, jumped in, no hesitation, and always, you know, give as good as he gets.
And that's it, Ben, isn't it? That he is that guy that's sort of like, he's been the underdog going into a lot of fights and maybe not been given the recognition that he deserves. I actually done the corner for him out in Poland when he boxed in Poland in one of his earlier days. I actually did. And yeah, I helped him out in the corner, and he's a fantastic guy, but a guy that sort of like doesn't mind being written off because he continually proved people wrong, and he says that he's going to do the same again on Saturday night. Very relaxed approach to the fight actually on yesterday.
Yeah, and I think part of that is probably because, like I say, where he's been in the gym, he's forever been sparring with, you know, world champions, former world champions, future heavyweight champions. And like I say, he's always give as good as he gets. So I think that instills confidence in him. And I think he knows what he's capable of doing.
Ben, in terms of levels, where do you think you can take Jamie?
Again, you know, I don't want to try and take credit for Barry's work. With Barry, he's Jamie's trainer. But, you know, like I say, from what I've seen, from what he can deliver in the gym, if he can transition that and perform the same way on the night, he's more than capable of competing right at the top.
I think it's an interesting matchup, Simon, isn't it?
Yeah, are you surprised, Ben, that the bookies seem to be making Richard Riakporhe the favourite in this fight?
I think he's the one that's probably had a bit more promotion and a bit more backing, and I think he's been professional for longer than Jamie. He probably got a bit of a bigger name, so naturally the expectation would be with Richard Riakporhe, and I think a lot of people probably haven't seen Jamie perform to his best yet. So I wouldn't say I'm shocked if I take into consideration those things. But I think if you had the inside scoop on Jamie, I think the people that know Jamie and know what he's capable of, I think they probably wouldn't have it that way.
What do you make of Riakporhe? I mean, obviously Riakporhe, I like Richard. He's a Crystal Palace fan. I wanted to see him do well in the fight against CBS. He froze completely in that fight at Selhurst Park when he had an opportunity to tilt for a world title. It's perceived that that's a weight issue as much as anything else. He moves into the heavyweights. I mean, what do you make of him? What sort of fight do you expect to see that Jamie's going to have to overcome?
I think that he's a dangerous guy. I think that there's not much margin for error because he's a big puncher. He's one of the few, to be honest. Often you'll hear this guy's a big puncher, that guy's a big puncher, and then you'll speak to guys that have sparred him, and then this guy will say, I didn't think he hit that hard, and someone else will say, I thought he hit hard. Richard's probably the only fighter that I've never heard anybody say, I didn't think he hit that hard. Everybody says about Riakporhe, and he can really punch. So, like I say, there's probably little margin for error, but I expect to see Jamie dominate majority and big chunks of the fight.
Jamie has an incredible ability to avoid those sort of punches, though, and it's not always attractive. It can be, it can be very awkward at times, but it's very successful, isn't it? And we saw that against Fraser Clark last time out. It's that it's never really pretty, but it works. It's effective.
Yeah, Jamie's big, physical, tough, good body puncher, and I think those things can take their toll, especially on somebody moving up from cruiserweight. But he can also box, and I think we saw that when Jamie boxed David Adelaide. I thought Jamie was well ahead there as the scorecards had him. There was obviously a very messy situation with the referee in that fight, but I think he's versatile, and I do understand. I don't think people have seen the best of him yet, so hopefully we get to see that on Saturday night.
Ben, briefly, do we need Tyson Fury back, and what kind of Tyson are we going to see against Makhmudov?
Well, it's good to see more broadcasters involved in the sport, more opportunities for some of the other fighters coming through. I think that Tyson should look good against Makhmudov. I think that he's tailor-made, to be honest, and I think that I expect him to look good. And if he doesn't look good, I think that there would be alarm bells for Tyson himself.
All right. No alarm bells about Moses Atoma. One of the boxers you train. How is it in the corner of one of the division's hottest properties right now?
Yeah, he's a phenomenal talent, and he's he's got a great attitude, very coachable. I think that he's taking it in his stride. I think that he's coming out of his shell in some ways. He actually said to me that was the most calm. And because it was the most calm he's felt going into the fight and whilst in the fight, he felt it was his most enjoyable. And I could just see he's got that love for the game. And that excites me, that because when they've got that and they enjoy their training and they've got that talent that he's got, I just think the world's your oyster.
Ben, you trained all the top heavyweights. Just wanted to quickly ask you this one. In terms of punch power, where does Moses Atoma fit into that? You've had your Tyson Fury, Anthony Joshua, you've done all those guys. Give us a comparison. Does he hit as hard as him, guys?
I get asked this all of the time, and it's so difficult because I think you'll know, Spence, the power, getting hit by different people can be a different type of power.
Yeah.
Types of power. Some people will be heavy and clubbing and weighty, and some people will be sharp. I didn't even see that coming. Snappy. Some people are sort of a blend of the two. I find some people, they almost feel like they've got bricks in their hands. And I believe that's partly down to bone density. I think those type of punches, if you put them in a DEXA scan and check their bone density, I imagine it would be very high. Moses is one of those where he scores on all of them. I think he's sharp, snappy, very heavy. He's super strong, super ridiculously strong. He sets them up fantastic. And they're heavy, and I feel like he scores well across the board. Whereas some punches might be, they're just very, very heavy. Some punches might be very snappy. I feel like one of those that are across the board. So I think that he punches just as hard as all of them.
Ben, brilliant stuff. I think I'd disappoint you if you were working with me. My bone density isn't up to much, Ben. But that's one of those things, mate. Thank you so much. Go on, Ben.
As long as you do a good job setting it up, I'm sure we can get you a few knockouts.
I'll be down the gym by about 2:30. Thank you, Mr. Davison. We're live in talkSPORT with Selco, where the trade goes. I am delighted to say the man from Hackney, 28-year-old Viddal Riley, European Cruiserweight champion, joins us live in the studio. Loving it. The belts, the spoils of war. Well done.
I just want to say, I was born in Hackney, but I am from Tottenham.
Right.
Yeah.
Better be diplomatic on that one. How was it for you?
It was a great experience being under a new promoter, new energy, big stage, just having the arena full to that capacity at the time as well, and just embracing my moment, just putting so much work in to get there, and just finally just enjoying being under the lights. It's been a year since I was out, since I was out again. So yeah, it just felt good to be back. It felt good.
Good. What kind of a step up was Masternak for you? Because this was a seasoned pro. He'd been in with Billum Smith. He'd been in with Tony Bellew. Hadn't won, but he'd been in with him.
Yes, no. Going into the fight, I never took him lightly. I never thought, okay, he's 38 now, I'm younger, that's going to be enough. There's a reason why he's been in the game this long. 50 wins, 33 knockouts. I'm going into the fight with 13 fights. There's no respectful reason for me to underestimate him. So I always knew it was going to pose this challenge, but I always knew that I could win in good fashion.
What do you think of this fella, Simon?
I thought it was a first-class performance. I mean, I think ultimately you talk about levels, and this guy was a European champion. Obviously, Vidal stepped up from English to British. He's doing it all the right way. English, British titles now at the European level.
The talkSPORT 20k giveaway.
Now you've got until 4 o'clock today to put yourself in the running for £20,000. Imagine that. Imagine that, Spencer. 20 grand tax-free landing straight into your back pocket. Your chance to win it, text WIN to 83338. Text costs £2.50 plus your standard network rate. The number to call, 0343 418 7260. Lines close today at 4 o'clock. That's when you'll need to answer your phone. Here's an idea once it rings. 18 plus, UK residents only. It's a network promotion. Full terms and conditions at talksport.com. We've been talking about Fury against Makhmudov this weekend. Also on the undercard, we're going to be seeing Conor Benn up against Regis Prograis in the welterweight division. Now, Spencer was down at a press launch yesterday and all of a sudden ended up in conversation with Conor Benn. I'll get to the reasons around that in a second, Spencer. But alongside Gareth A. Davis, the two of you spoke with Conor Benn. And you put it to Conor, how easy was it for him to remain focused on Regis Prograis when beyond that, everyone's linking him with other big fights?
It's really hard for me to look past someone like Regis, two-time former world champion. Got to give him his roses and the respect he deserves. Ultimately, most fighters would have waited for the Garcia fight, which would have been, August, September. Due to me being made mandatory in number one position, I could have just waited. I chose to have a run out, but I chose to...
So you called it a run out?
No. I chose to have a run out, and they presented Regis to me. I said, yeah, sweet, no problem.
You got to be on your game against him, there's no question about it.
How difficult is that, though, the focus, because it's so easy to jump ahead. Them big fights are on the horizon, stateside with Ryan Garcia, etc. Everyone calling out your name. You've made a big name for yourself over there as well. So focusing on this one, which is a potential banana skin against a great fighter like Regis, how difficult is it to stay focused on that as opposed to jumping too far ahead?
Joe, it's a hard one because you do it. It is easily done.
Absolutely.
It is easily done. So I am very aware of it, where you go, cool, yeah, Ryan Garcia's around the corner, I'm mandatory, I'm number one. I could just wait, but this opportunity was presented. I could do with getting out again at 150 before dropping down completely to 147. So it's strategic from my end because ultimately I've been walking around at 170 for the past 3 years. Not having to make weight really. Eating steak for just throughout the camps. And that presented a different struggle in itself. But for me, I've got to win this fight. He can ruin everything. So it's not like I don't take him lightly at all. He thinks he's going to come in there and impose himself on me. Boy, is he wrong. This for me is my world title because I don't get past Regis, I don't get my shot.
So Conor goes in against Regis Prograis. Because of what's going on in the past, Spencer, are we still none the wiser as to who or what Conor is and where he might end up in the sport?
Well, look, he said he wants to campaign at 147. He went up to 160 to box Chris Eubank Jr. We know what that was for, the financial reasons, the family feud, all of that. They're two great fights up at 160. Coming back down, this is at 150. Regis Prograis, who's never boxed above 142 before. We remember him boxing Josh Taylor. Sure. And that was way back when, 2019, I think. And Jack Catterall. He's a great fighter, been around a long time. He's had 33 fights, 130 of those, 24 of those inside the distance, but has campaigned a much lighter weight. So Conor Benn should win this one. It's a name on his resume. But Regis Prograis is not to be taken lightly. And also, we don't know what sort of effects that's going to have had on Conor Benn. He's boxed at 160. He's now coming down to 150. He says that he can get to 147, which I don't believe is achievable. I don't think he'll have the strength down there. I think his career will probably fall in the 154, the super welterweight division. That's probably where he'll land. But as me and Simon were just talking about when we were watching the interview there, he looks very lean, very drawn, so it must be a bit of a struggle for him. And how's that affected him? Will the strength still be there? Will the punch power still be there? It's an interesting fight because Prograis is a decent fighter.
Yeah. What's your take on it?
I mean, in theory, not in factual times, Regis Prograis' best days are behind him, and Conor Benn's best days should be ahead of him. And they've picked this fight, like we said earlier on, and it's a Dave Allenism. He's the best. He's the best matched fighter financially that's probably ever been. This is an interesting dynamic, but I would expect Conor, irrespective of how slight he looks there, and it might be because we've just seen him bulked up over the last 6 to 8 months or even 12 months, that he looks very slight there, pint-sized Dennis Rodman. But I expect him to go. I expect him to go in there and to beat Regis Prograde where it takes him. If it takes him into the 154 category because he can't get to 147, he's in a world of trouble there. Because I don't see him beating Josh Kelly. I don't see him getting a glove on Boots Ennis.
But then you got if you're going down the 147 route, you've got the likes of Ryan Garcia.
Absolutely.
And
You've got Lewis Crocker.
Lewis Crocker. Yeah, but does he beat Lewis Crocker?
No, I'm not saying he does. But of the two fighters, you'd probably take Lewis Crocker over Ryan Garcia, wouldn't you?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Good to chat to Conor Ben all the same, though.
It's the first time I've had a conversation with him in...
Your new mate.
No, I asked him...
Is he your new bestie?
He's not my new bestie. No.
Gareth is. Wherever you go, Gareth E. Davis is there.
Can't you shake
him
off?
You're the kind of hinge and bracket of boxing.
He's my work partner, Gareth A. Davis, and he's doing a good job, by the way.
Your work partner?
He's doing a very good job, and he's always very complimentary about Simon Jordan.
Is he?
That's a whole different conversation. But look, it's the first time I spoke to Conor since... before all the troubles.
All right, Spencer.
Before all the allegations.
If I'm getting slagged off my jacket, Gareth E. Davis. I mean, come on.
Please.
Come on.
Lawrence Llewellyn Bowen gone wrong, yeah.
Oh, dear me.
He'll be listening to this, by the way.
Sorry, Spencer, finish off with what you're saying about Conor.
Yeah,
I interrupted you.
It's the first time. So how this came about was I didn't think I was doing that interview. I thought it was going to be with Gareth A. Davis because Conor's always refused to do an interview with me since, the drugs allegations that I was very vocal about, and I stand by still.
Yeah.
And we will have that conversation at a later date,
Sure.
But Nicole, who works for Conor, she come up to me and said, "Look, listen, would you be in the interview? But obviously we don't want to talk about certain situations." I went, "I understand that. Fight week. He's got his fight head on. Let's just do it." So yeah, that's how we come to doing the interview.
I asked you the question, I got an answer. Certainly, it's 30 seconds of my life I'll never get back.
Well,
but
listen,
thank you so much, Spencer.
I think the answer was better than Ben Davidson's one about who hits harder. That is for sure.
We want to thank you, Spencer, as always. Thank you so much. Mr. Jordan, you'll be pleased to know it's raining where you're going in Spain, and I hope it continues to do so. It's 1 o'clock.